It is such a pleasure and honor to open the 18th Film Forum of Haifa Industry Events. I'm Ruth Levaria. I'm the moderator and the curator of this event for the last 18 years. We seek to expose and promote our stories into feature films, screen worldwide, and widen our horizons as we form new professional horizons and liaisons. We're very excited today because we have friends from all over the world. And indeed, sometimes we are on air and we feel restricted, we feel limited, but not tonight. We are live and kicking, and really this whole event is taking a form every year, wider, more extensive, and more fun. So this is the 18th Pitching Forum, which could not have been possible without the vision of the Haifa Film Festival. It's my privilege to thank Pnina Bleier for opening this door, offering her international know-how all these years. And thank the current relentless festival team headed by Yaron Shamir. Haifa Feature Film TV Forum enjoys the collaboration and support of Israel Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Israel Ministry of Culture and Sports, Israel Office of Regional Cooperation. Our partners in this endeavor since the very beginning, with much enthusiasm and trust, especially trust, are Israel Film Fund, Israel Film and TV Producers, and Israel Scriptwriters Guild. We wish to thank our colleagues for their part in the process. Eli Cohen, Yaron Zelig, Noah Aroni, Emilio Schenker of Tadmor Entertainment, Eran Polishuk, and Agata Berman, our pitchologist, our pitching coach. At the end of the day, we offer Israel Film Fund Development Assistant Grant, Opus Productions online suite for trailer editing, trailer sound editing by Jungle Sound. Thank you all, friends. I have the pleasure of inviting Avital Beckerman of the Israeli Film Fund to say a few words this evening. Avital, please.
Hi, just wanted to say that we at the Israel Film Fund feel very grateful to take part in this special platform for so many years. And so thank you, Ruti Levari and Haifa Film Festival for your deep creative collaboration and contribution to our local film industry. Everyone says it because it's true. There is so much talent in this place. So welcome everybody in the international desk. You're about to find out it is not always very easy to be in the position of decision making here. And to all of you, all the projects, I wish you all a great success this evening, and find what you wish to find, maybe find your exact partners, and eventually I wish you to be produced and to come true. שתהיה לנו שנה טובה.
Thank you, Avital, and really thank you for all these years of being our consultants as well. And thank you, Lisa Ozrad, the head of the Israeli Film Fund, who could not be with us today, but her support is very valuable to us. So now I'm looking for Emilio Schenker, but I can see Jay Cohen in his stead. So either you're in LA or I spoke to you in London yesterday. So would you like to say something? Yeah.
Nobody sent me the link, so I'm on Jay Cohen's links. So,
okay.
But I'm privileged to have his name here. He's much more handsome, much more talented, much more richer than I am. So for me, it's like a privilege to have his name here as my name. I wish next life I will be Jay Cohen. That's my dream. I just want to say thank you, Ruthie, for being such a great person and such a great creator and curator, and for taking for being kind of like the mother of this film industry, and always with such a big heart for everybody in this industry, and for arranging this meeting. I just want to say that I'm so sorry that we're not in Haifa having fun, but hopefully next year Jay Cohen and I, as Jay Cohen, will be as we love.
You'll get one room. You'll get only one room.
One room, like always.
One room on the name of Jay Cohen.
Exactly, like always. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Ruthie, especially to you. You are great. I love you.
That's lovely. That's Emilio Shankar of Tadmor Entertainment. Our fine technical team, Adi Mishnayot and Elon Moran, are raring to go, their fingers tapping on computers by TXL computers. So our international table of jury and guests is indeed exceptional this year and spread widely all over the world. Each will introduce himself, herself, and his interests and aspirations. We welcome you all with much appreciation. And what we do here is we let each one say something personal. And also, especially in Zoom, we would like you to get to know them, hear their voices. So when they give an input or talk to you later, it will be already something that you know. You'll be friends already. So Jay Cohen, Gersh Agency, USA, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone.
Jay
My
Cohen,
name
the real Jay Cohen.
I could be the fake. It's okay. My name is Jay Cohen. I love this festival. I've been coming for a few years now. I'm sad I'm not there again. People should know my background was I worked on Wall Street for a very long time. So my background was finance. When I moved to Los Angeles, I ended up financing with my own money a few movies, Swimming with Sharks and with Kevin Spacey and a few others. And then I partnered for the next 10 years with movie stars. So I had a company with Dustin Hoffman for a long time, and then Goldie Hawn, Russell, and Kate Hudson, and I started a company. You know, I've been at Gersh running the packaging department for about 9 years. In the past 9 years, between what I've produced, what I've done for Gersh, I've done about 200 movies globally. Right now, I have a movie shooting in London. I see Lee Broda on. Lee and I have both worked on a Whitney Houston movie that starts shooting tomorrow that we financed $90 million, all equity independently, wow. Which has been incredibly challenging. But I've worked in movies in almost every single country in the world, and I love learning and I love being part of this. So thank you, Ruthie, for having me again.
Yeah, of course. And now I'd really like to introduce Hans Freyken, and we're very pleased to have Hans with us. Hans is the head of the Film Commission at Abu Dhabi, and this is really a great pleasure. Please, Hans.
Hi, thank you so much, Ruth. The pleasure is mine, and the pleasure is also the whole country, because I think this is a historic moment. If I'm not mistaken, it's the first time that a Gulf country has participated in an Israeli festival, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, of course, and we worked hard on this, as you know.
So let's make sure we get lots of press about this.
Yes, absolutely. I'll have to get you in Haifa and photograph you next to me. Photo opportunity.
Yeah, here, we can take a selfie right now.
Absolutely. Actually, I'll start photographing also later. It's a good reminder. Thank you. Would you like to say something quickly about the Film Commission at Abu Dhabi? Just a few words.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, this is really thanks to Lisa, who you mentioned earlier on. I've known Lisa for a while, but obviously we never had the opportunity to work with Israel. I worked with Israel in my past life. I was the head of international for Telefilm Canada, which is kind of the Israeli Film Fund's equivalent in Canada. And we administer co-productions. So I've sat through a lot of pitches and juries all around the world, and it's nice to be back with you guys in Israel, but albeit wearing a very different hat. As most of you on this call know, the normalization of relations was officialized just over a year ago now. So this is the 1-year anniversary. COVID kind of slowed down our plans for, co-production collaborations and participation in festivals, but there was an agreement signed last year, and we're both parties are sticking to it. So this is one of the first steps, and we're really happy to be here.
That's lovely. Could you say something about your background a little bit, just a word or two?
Yeah, sure.
Personal, professional background, yeah.
Professional, not non-professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before being the Abu Dhabi Film Commissioner, I was the Quebec Film and Television Commissioner. I actually founded the Quebec Film and Television Council. Before that, as I said, I was the head of the International Office for Telefilm Canada, so the Canadian Film Funding Agency, and that was based in Paris. And before that, I was an international distribution exec for 20th Century Fox for about a decade in Asia and Europe.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And now we are yearning for a British accent. Mike Goodridge of Good Chaos. What a name.
I love that you're yearning for a British accent.
Yes,
I'm actually in San Sebastian at the moment, so there's a bit of Spanish element too. So I am a producer, an executive producer, and a director manager based in London. Usually, I work all over the world. I've got a film shooting in Finland right now, one in China in October, one in Iceland in January. So I'm country agnostic. I've had many roles in my life. I was a trade journalist and critic for 22 years, 12 of them in Los Angeles for Screen International. Then I ran a sales company called Protagonist Pictures in London, which gave me my taste for production and the finance world. I've run film festivals. I run the Macau Film Festival, and I've worked for Locarno, Sarajevo, Chicago this year. So I like to keep my fingers in many different pies. That's
lovely. Thank you. And please, Wendy Little worked with us in another event last year, and we find that we want from year to year, and especially this year, to stress more marketing and PR, advertising as a very significant part of filmmaking, because it's okay to think of a film, to produce a film, to create something, a world, but we want to get it out there. So Wendy Liddell, please, now it's your turn. Wendy, you have to unmute.
I'm not used to muting because I'm always in such a quiet place, but you asked us to mute. So anyway, I am the head of acquisition and theatrical distribution at Kino Lorber. Prior to that, I had my own company called International Film Circuit for 30 years. I have a long relationship with Israeli cinema, but you know what? I'm going to depart and say a few personal words, because I think what is true of many American Jews is that, our family back at the turn of the century, half of them went to Palestine and half of them came to America. So we sort of have a mirror image family in Israel now. So we care a lot. And I have had a long relationship bringing in, I was the first person to bring in the films of Amos Gitai back when his most recent film was the Book of Esther. So that was in the late '89, and we now have his complete works. We're preparing to release Nadav Lapid's new film Ached Zni, which we picked up in Cannes. It was in Toronto. We're prepared. We're going to be presenting it in the New York Film Festival next week, and getting ready to release it here. We had 2 Academy Award nominations for Israeli films, Beaufort and Ajani. We like Israel, I think United States is dealing with, soft power around the world and fresh voices. And Israel is a country that is very much punching above its weight in terms of population. So I really look forward to hearing what people have to pitch today. I am very much anticipating high quality, and I'll be listening for the rest of the morning.
Yes, thank you very much. And now we have a filmmaker from Kosovo, Norika Sefa, the director of, are you from Albania or Kosovo?
I am from Kosovo.
Kosovo.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yes, it's my
Norika
first
is
time.
one second. Norika is the director of the film Looking for Venera, which is showing at HIFF, a wonderful film. So Norika, please.
Yeah, it's my first time showing the film there. I'm very glad because I saw the selection of the film and I can sense how you pick, and I really like the spirit of the festival. As about the role I'm having here, of course, I chose to be as a jury about this particular forum because I think it's very inspiring for me as a filmmaker, just to see what troubles our mind as creators, and how we are evolving with the situation that are happening and what troubles us or what inspires us. And of course, to judge is always to be judged, and you kind of start to judge also your own taste and your own approach and so on. So it's very, very challenging, but I'm excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And I wonder which side it's better to be on, but it's better to be on both sides.
Yeah, exactly. You feed the both sides if you step in sometimes in both sides, I think. Yeah.
So now we'd like to host Gary Springer, a publicist from the US. Gary, thank you for joining us, and please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I am Gary Springer. I'm based in New York. I have been in the film business all my life. My father was a publicist. He ran RKO Pictures publicity, and then 20th Century Fox magazine publicity, and started doing the New York Film Festival in its first year. So I grew up with film festivals. I was, I think, 10 or 11 when the film festival started. And I took a leave for 10 years and acted in Hollywood and things like Dog Day Afternoon and Jaws 2, and then said, I don't want to be an actor. I want to be a publicist and back into the film world. And I've been doing it ever since, and I represent films in release in the US. I represent film festivals. I represented the Hamptons for 15 years, the Sarasota for 15 years, and I've represented quite a few Israeli programs. I worked with Menemsha Films, which is one of the larger distributors of Jewish-themed films in the US. I was a juror in the Jerusalem Film Festival a dozen years ago. I represented the Israeli Film Festival for Mayor Fenigstein in New York for 5 years. And I love it. I'm working now with a group called IFTA, the International Emerging Film Talent Association, and we pick filmmakers from all over the world. We mentor them. We've had a few Israeli filmmakers who we've brought to Cannes over the years. And as part of IFTA, not only do I consult on all the publicity, but I also select filmmakers. So I've just finished Durban doing the same thing, looking at films and advising people in works in progress. I'm going to El Guna in 2 weeks to do the same thing and select filmmakers for our program. And I love it. So I look forward to watching all these proposals and works in progress and your info. So it's going to be a good day.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. And actually, we're very lucky because Lee Broda, one of the producers of the Card Counter by Paul Schrader, is actually here in Haifa, here in Israel. And Lee, a producer, a young producer, may I say, Lee, from the USA, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here with all of you. And yeah, this is my first time being part of the HIFF Film Festival, even though I'm Israeli, but it's been an honor. And I had a great experience screening The Card Counter on Tuesday for the first time in Israel with an Israeli audience. So it's been lovely. And I'm based in Los Angeles. I started a company called LB Entertainment that produces and finances independent films. And we actually started doing documentaries about 2 years ago. So we're expanding into docs and TV. And yeah, it's been a great journey so far. I've been in the States for about 15 years and a lot of familiar faces here, and good to see everyone, and good luck. Looking forward to hearing the pitches and being here with all of you.
Thank you very much. So we are at HIFA. We see collaborations with other international film festivals. This year with Prefest Kosovo, with a mutual hosting of winning projects. Today, and I hope I pronounce it already, we're hosting Vjosa Berisha, Director of Prefest Kosovo, and I'd like to thank our friend Besnik Krapi for somehow connecting all this. And we would like to welcome you, and we would like to hear a few things about Prefest. Prefest is a festival that is very interesting. It raises our curiosity, and I think this collaboration will be great, and is great already, but will be even greater in the future. So please, Vjosa, I hope I say your name rightly.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Yes, it's Vjosa, and you pronounced it well, no problem. Thank you. It's a pleasure that we started this cooperation this year, although we really hope that you could have come to our festival when we organized it in August, and it was a physical edition. We had the pleasure of hosting a limited number of guests, and it went really well. But nevertheless, I'm glad that we have shared the winning project, and we have also Sabina here who will be pitching later on. Pristina International Film Festival is 13 years old. It has started looking up to festivals in the region, the success that Sarajevo has done for its country. We, as a young country, we thought that Kosovo should have also a feature film festival, and it soon grew up to bring a lot of international guests in Pristina. We are, let's say, we are a small festival, but that has a big impact for our film community, because we support our filmmakers a lot by bringing a lot of international guests to Pristina to be able to network, given that Kosovars have very limited possibilities of travel and visa limitations. Our relationship with Israel somehow has started since early days, because we had quite a lot of filmmakers that came to Kosovo and presented their films from Israel. We had the pleasure even having Samuel Maozi at one point presenting his film Lebanon, and also we have a long-standing relationship with Katriel Shori, and also we had Sam Spiegel Film School presenting a number of films in one of the years of the festival. Now, working with HIFA, it will be a pleasure, and I'm sure that this cooperation will continue for many years. Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, and we will have a guest after the short break we will have later on. We will have Made in Das as a guest international pitch, the winner of Prefest 2021. So now it's our turn. Let's begin. Are we all ready behind the scenes? So the first pitch will be American ice cream. We go mostly by the ABC. American ice cream by Oshri Zetuni and Kobi Azran. I see Oshri smiling already. Let's see the video.
My name is Ushri Zaitouni, and today I would like to present to you my project, my next movie, My Love, American Ice Cream. To be honest, this is my first time that I do a pitch in English, so please be gentle. The protagonist in American Ice Cream is Mazali. The name means lucky or my lucky in Hebrew. He's 20 years old. She doesn't know how to say no. She's a pleaser. She is smart enough to avoid, use humor, or stay silent, but to say no, she simply can't. Mazali is a legal therapist without a certificate, holding a fear of male touch that keeps her safe. She avoids this kind of touch like fire. As much as deep down, she wants to experience more like other girls her age. She will fight this need and deny her desire until no more, as if she escapes her own youth. She sets her focus on her mission to open a new and fresh page with her mother, Dina, and two young brothers, three locks at the door, and a dry wall between them and the loving and healthy Arabic family. The two languages, Hebrew and Arabic, are being merged all over the movie. In the meantime, Mazali's father is starting to spy on his wife and kids in order to win them back. Now the best moment in the pitch. We will watch now scene in which Mazali suspects her mother. She sees Amos, the father of Mazali, behind her back and lie to her.
סתם. מה היית רוצה שיקרה? שתהיי מאושרת. לא. מה החלום שלך? שאני וג'ורג' קלוני נצוף בים המלח. ועכשיו באמת. וואי, איזה קפוא פה. גבוה לגמרי. זה העיניים שלך תמיד חמות. של אבא שלך. אין לי אבא. שלך. אין. יש. אין לי. יש. אין. יש. את דיברת איתו. אני נפגשתי איתו. תעני לי. דיברת איתו? תעני לי. נכון? דיברתי איתו ולא נפגשתי איתו. והוא רוצה משפט להם. לא עשיתי.
American Ice Cream is not another film about victims or about domestic violence. It is not a film about murder of women. It is a feminine youth coming of age story of a young and optimistic girl who asks to rewrite against all odds her family and her own destiny. She collapsed as a therapist and reborn as a free woman. COVID-19 show how urgent it is to speak up and discuss openly about domestic violence, about the next generation of kids growing up fed by violence daily, every hour and this very moment as I speak. American Ice Cream wants to go deeper to the roots of the phenomenon, deconstruct and reconstruct the term family, and suggest a new point of view out of my belief that there is a possibility for a change, no matter what family you were born to, really.
Thank you, Oshri Zaitouni, Kobi Azran. Oshri, say something so you can come to the stage, as we say, to the forefront of the frame.
Hear me?
Yeah, just say something and then we will go and see who wants to say something from our jury or guests.
Just said that it's a bit darkness, the scene, and that's all.
Okay, who would like to say something? So many people here. Who wants to say something? Mike, would you like to say something, or Jay?
Ask me something, please.
They will, don't worry. Professionals. They don't just have to ask, you can also give a comment or suggestion or whatever.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Sorry. So can I ask, when you say this is a movie about abuse and it's a coming of age movie, and then I'm watching a scene of a couple in bed, I'm not sure I understand the tone, because those three things are fighting to me. So I don't see from what you showed me, and I'm only talking about pitching, not the actual movie. From what you showed me, it isn't relating to the through line of this is a movie about children dealing with abuse and emotional abuse, right? So that's not what I saw in the video. So I'm wondering why that's the clip that you're showing me when that's not really what you said your movie's about. That could be a scene in your movie, but I'm just a little confused by that, to be honest.
As you see, my English is not so good, so Tal, my brother, gonna help me with it, translate. And
Sure.
because of the delicate subject, I prefer he help me.
Sure.
So, אוקיי. הסרט מדבר, כמו שראיתם, על... שומעים אותי? פשוט רואה את רות.
אוקיי. הסרט מדבר על הרבה מאוד רבדים שקורים בתוך משפחה כזו, שקורית בה התעללות רגשית, נפשית וגופנית, ומתוך זה אני בוחרת להראות את זה דרך ההשלכות. זאת אומרת שהאימא והבת הם בעצם כמו זוג, הבת ממלאה את המקום של האבא ברגע שהוא לא נמצא.
One of the main things that Shri would like to explore in this film is the many layers of abusing, or how do you feel as you live in a family like this. And one of the main meanings of that is that the children needs to take the place of the father once he's out of the picture, meaning this young girl is replacing the dad's place, and she's becoming in a relationship with her mom, replacing what he can't give her because she's so used to that. And it's kind of like a twisted relations in the family that you just see a hint of that in here.
Okay.
Nice.
So one thing I will say to everybody, and Ruth and Emilio always tell me to be very direct with everybody. So, and this is
kind and empowering.
Yes, yes, yes. Remember, I've told everybody that when my 28-year-old daughter went to a film festival with me when she was 16, and she watched a group ahead of me be abusive to the audience. She said, "Dad, don't ruin anyone's dreams." So I promise I won't ruin anyone's dreams. Here's my thing, and Mike and Wendy and Gary and everybody else can chime in. When you're pitching an idea of a movie to someone or a TV show, what I try to tell everybody is I need to understand what the movie is. So I generally like to say, even if it's 5 minutes, I should be able to understand Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Like, I should understand where the characters are, how it tracks in the movie, so that I'm not having to try to figure out what happens in the pitch. You're actually helping me, so I understand this is what my story is, this is what Act 1 is, this is what Act 2 is, this is what Act 3 is. Otherwise, I'm guessing, and I, again, not to pick on you since you went first, and that was very brave of you, but I don't actually know the plot points or the character drive in your movie. So what I tell everybody is, give me a 2-line pitch of your movie, so that in my head, I'm already thinking about, you know, what this is going to be like. And then I can think about if you're hitting the points in that genre or those characters, so I can follow them and track that. And so the one thing I would say about the pitch is, and it has nothing to do with your story, is I like people to tell me in 2 lines what it is, and then you're going to walk me through Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So I understand what the movie is.
Okay, beginning, middle, and end.
I agree with Jay about the video. I'm not sure if the video is really serving you well. The synopsis, you know, on the website, and your discussions about the, you know, the deconstruction and reconstruction of the family and the feminist youth are all very interesting themes. I'm not exactly sure if also it was very dark, as you mentioned earlier. But yes, I mean, it's quite an interesting story from what you've said and what I read, but I don't think, as Jay mentioned, it necessarily came across the best way, even though I do like the themes, the possibility to change, et cetera, et cetera.
I would like to chip in with your permission, because there is something about this darkness, because as we go on the scene, we see that there are more people sleeping in that room. I don't even know how many. Suddenly we hear a voice of another person sleeping under the laundry, and the whole world of that room suddenly is family room. So I think it was perhaps planned that way, but I'm not sure, Shri.
But again, I will just say this, Ruth. I purposely didn't read any of the write-ups there, because I wanted you to pitch me. So if I can't figure out what you're pitching me,
okay,
then that doesn't work for me, right? So imagine you're basically pitching your idea to me from scratch. I don't know anything about what you're pitching. So if I can't track, then I'm not going to be able to really follow what you're saying. That's all.
Okay. Any other comment? No other comment? Maybe Mike, maybe Lee.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat what they said. It's just I didn't really understand the story.
Okay.
That's all, and it's also to do with the Oshri's English, etc. So I'd love to know what how the story works.
Okay, so Oshri, just to help you, although we're sort of out of time, if you can say in one sentence what the story is about. You said it's not about the violence in the family. It's not just a dark story. It's not, what is it in one sentence? So we can follow afterwards.
הסרט מדבר על מסע ההתבגרות של נערה בת 20, דרך הנופים של חיפה, שהיא עיר מאוד מאוד מיוחדת, היא מסאז'יסטית פיראטית, והיא יוצאת למסע להציל את אימא שלה, ובדרך היא עוברת מסע התבגרות מאוד 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 חדשני.
Lovely. Okay.
So it's a coming of age story of a 20-year-old girl who asks to rewrite her and her own family journey, and she's trying to save her mother by being a pirated therapist, and to change the destiny, maybe against all odds. All of this is parallels to the city of Haifa, all the slopes and ascents. As she goes up and goes down, the city tells the story of this girl.
Okay, so now I understand a little more.
One question, Ruth.
Yeah, of course.
The title is American Ice Cream, was that? What was the title?
Yeah.
So I had a question about that, if you can talk a little bit about the title and maybe
Why?
what was the inspiration. Yeah.
And that will be the last comment, Oshri. Why American ice cream?
גלידה אמריקאית, יש לה כמה משמעויות, אבל אני חושבת שדווקא פה זה מעניין להסתכל על גלידה אמריקאית כמבט ישראלי, על אמריקה ועל הכמיהה שלנו להיות כמוהם, נגד כל הסיכויים, כי לעולם לא באמת נהיה אמריקה.
American ice cream is this sweet thing that may give you a brain freeze, right? It's our Israeli gaze on Americanization. We look forward, we try, we're eager to be that big dream, that big thing, even though we probably can never be that thing. And that the film has a very new, adventurous outlook on that.
על הכמיהה הזאת להיות מה שאנחנו לא נהיה לעולם.
That being eager to be something that you can never actually be.
Lovely. Thank you very much. You're very lucky to have your brother speaking English like this.
By the way, can I just say, wait, Ruth, can I just say, had you started by saying what American ice cream was and then did the 2-line pitch, I would have completely got the movie.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a good lesson for everybody, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since we have the videos, if you feel that right after the video, all the others, you want to add a sentence, think about it.
Please do it.
Do it. Okay. Available now, Asaf Machnes, Kobi Mizrahi. We will see the video first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Asaf Machnes. I'm a writer and director based in Tel Aviv and Berlin. I'm presenting a project called Available Now. It's a drama full of absurd, set in Berlin, taking place mostly inside a taxi. And it tells the story of Hassan, a 55-year-old Palestinian Uber driver. Hassan immigrated to Berlin in his late 20s, trying to secretly fight for a romance he had with a Christian woman a few years before. When Hassan reached Berlin, it was already too late, and this woman was already in love with someone else. And in order to immediately forget about this failure, he married a Muslim woman called Noor. They brought 3 girls together that grew up to be more and more German throughout the years. Now, at the age of 55, Hassan is feeling trapped in Berlin. He's full of regrets, and he's feeling locked inside his taxi, working mostly night shifts, taking young partygoers between one party to another, between one climax to another. Hassan has a little flag of Palestine hang on his central mirror. reminding him that one day he might return to the land and the ideas that he abandoned for his little old love affair. The movie starts when Hassan meets Amir. Amir is a young Israeli who visits Berlin for a week of work. And like a lot of Israelis, Amir uses the fact that he's away from his judgmental environment in order to test his sexuality. Amir enters Hassan's cab completely drunk with a German guy called Niels, who's actually using Amir in order to make his ex-boyfriend jealous. And 3 months later, by coincidence, Amir enters Hassan's cab again, and Hassan realizes that Amir actually moved to Berlin, desperately trying to fight for his open relationship with Niels. From that point on, we follow the different rides of Hassan with Amir, sometimes with Niels, sometimes with the both of them, and sometimes with other characters that paint Hassan's life in different colors. From his driver's seat, as Hassan witnesses Amir's pathetic and destructive attempts to win over the heart of Niels, he starts to identify with this Israeli guy, and he also starts secretly searching for his old lover and trying to figure out what happened to her since they last met. Hassan reaches a real junction when he finally realizes that actually his best way of helping Amir is by convincing him to confront his sexuality and go back home. Or in other words, by convincing an Israeli to go back to the occupied land of Palestine. After 3 years in Berlin and lots of taxi rides, Amir indeed goes back to Israel, and Hassan is left alone in his cab, ambiguous, witnessing the clubs and the restaurants go empty as Corona starts spreading all over Germany. Hassan's attempts throughout the film to find his old lover and realize what happened to her and meet her fail, but he gets his little redemption by coming in peace with his eldest daughter, Awatif, and accepting the fact that she wants to marry an Italian guy and grow a family in Europe, where she actually grew up. With this film, I want to explore this sense of exile out of the Holy Land through this unannounced father and son bond between Hassan and Amir. I want to tell a funny and painful story about letting go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asaf Machnes and Kobi Mizrahi. I said the names so we can pull you out and see you on the big screen. Okay, this is Kobi Mizrahi, the producer. Would you like to say something, Kobi?
Nice to meet you, and happy to be here again, like every year. I think Asaf is a really talented director and a good friend for many years. His short films, his old projects screened in Berlin, Locarno, Sarajevo, BFI, and this is his first feature film. It was developed with the development fund from the Rabinovich Film Fund and developed during the script station in Berlin, in the Talents. And now Asaf is in Berlin in the NIPCAU program. And we'll be happy to hear your thoughts about the project.
Lovely. So, Mike.
Yeah, I think this sounds terrific. My one concern is the taxi rides. Is it all going to be taxi rides? Because that's a tough thing to pull off. And how do they manage to get into the cabs all the time at the right time? You know, is it just coincidence that he always keeps on getting the same taxi driver? It's a lovely idea and a great story, and I love the idea of it being in a foreign country, in Berlin. But I just want to know about the taxi ride conceit.
Yeah, so as for the first question, no, it's not only in the taxi ride. That's one of the the concept I had to let go while you slowly kill your babies when you develop the script. So I do like this metaphor of a person trapped and looking at everything from the outside, but from the inside. But the more he starts to explore what happened to his old lover, the more he gets out of the cab. So he's only out of the cab during his exploration of what happened to his own lover. And I changed the script a little bit, and actually he meets her at some point, and yeah, but so to answer your question, it all takes place inside the cab, but for the moments where he's exploring what happened to his old lover. slowly releasing himself and reaching some kind of acceptance. As for like whether how do they meet inside the cab? I mean, it's a long answer because I can get into details, but yeah, the first time he takes the cab with another guy, then the second time after 4 months. In general, the film spreads across 3.5 years, and I can tell you, me already settled in Berlin for a year, I did meet the same taxi driver already 3 times, and he is Palestinian. That's how actually kind of like how the film started, like the idea for the film. But yeah, so after 3 months, he meets him again by coincidence. The third time is not a coincidence. The third time is when Hassan doesn't find any booking, and he is standing in line of the taxis outside a big club, and he sees Amir completely drugged outside, and he decides not to help him, but then he turns around and decides to help him. And the fourth time is actually Amir, apparently, like in the sense he helped him in the next 4 months. Every time he's booking a cab, he cancels 5 options until he might maybe get Hassan. And after 4 months, at some point he does. And from then on, he takes his number. But yeah. Great. So it was a bit challenging playing with this coincidence, but I'm pretty happy with already the second draft with the way I did it. It doesn't feel too unrealistic, I would say.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comment?
Is it all at night? Are all these taxi rides at night, or do we get, very varied rides and because it even makes it a little more constricting if everything is in the dark at night.
I agree, and again, that's not something I'm completely locked on, but at the moment, yes, it's also a metaphor I'm playing with. So it's all at night, but during throughout the film, we start to see more and more dawn. The more he gets out of his cab, and finally, the very, very daylight scene is when he's actually in the cab. We think it's another taxi ride, but then his daughter enters the cab with a wedding dress, and he lets her marry whoever she wants to marry, and it's during the daytime. So, yeah.
Can I say I actually like the story. I appreciate it. I thought you did a good job. And I will say that being stuck in a car or locked in a car, I actually think can be fun. My favorite Tom Cruise movie ever was Collateral, where he and Jamie Foxx in a car for a long time. And the way they kind of came in and out was beautifully done. And then there was also a movie 2 years ago at Sundance called Spree, where the whole movie was shot on a camera phone in a car on a Uber kind of situation. And it really helped the tone because that was basically a horror thriller. So if you basically design your car ride when I'm stuck in there, as my counterparts just said, like Gary, if you can use that to your advantage as long as you're letting me out on occasion. But I actually think there's a great way to use that if you want.
Thank you. Well, I honestly don't think I did it for a gimmick. I did it really because I feel that's the right way to tell the story of this guy who's trapped there. And yeah, I'm very excited to explore with the cinematographer how can we shoot, because it's not only about the cab, it's also what they see out from the cab outside, which is very present in this film.
Okay, anybody else to wrap before we go on? Okay, I'd like to mention that we had Juris Boyer of Playtime Group with us before. I can't see him here, so maybe he's now incognito. So Juris, I'm sorry I didn't introduce you. Here you are. So maybe you can introduce yourself so people will get to know you also. This is the next generation.
I'm actually working for Playtime, a Paris-based sales company, working with Ozon, Kanté, or Kawase. So I'm working at festivals and sales there in Paris. So nice to meet you, all of you.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for being here. Maybe you'll snatch the films when they'll be ready. Thank you very much.
Definitely, that's why I'm here.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the next film, Adi Adwan, Tony Kopti, Fresco Films, Citizen B. Voila the video.
ما معنى الحياة؟ هل هي العثور على الموهبة التي تكمن بداخلك؟ ما معنى الموهبة؟ وهل يمكنها وحدها أن تصنع الفنان؟ ما معنى أن تكون فنان؟ أن تكون مخرج أفلام؟
مضلش معنا ولا فرنك، لازم ندبر مصاري عشان في نخلص فيلمك.
عاد كنت بتفاهم.
لازم تدبر مصاري.
مش حد يعني؟
انسى الموضوع. ولا فرانك بيطلع من البيت لفيلمك. أفلامك بتطعمناش خبز.
ما معنى أن تكون زوج؟
اشتقت لك.
ما معنى أن تكون أب؟
شو عم بتساوي السنتي؟ شو القرارات اللي عم تاخذيها؟
بس انا عم باخذ قرارات صح لإلي زي ما انت بتاخذ قرارات صح لإلك. انا شايفه هذا الاشي صح إلي.
بس انت بعدك صغيره، بدك حدا يوجهك، بدك حدا يساعدك.
انا بديش تضلك تقول لي شو اعمل وشو لا، بديش تضلك تقول لي. مجبور دائما يفرض علي اوامره كاني بنت صغيره.
هذا ابوك، حلك تتعودي عليه.
ما معنى أن تكون صديق؟
مش فاهم ليش انت دائما هيك سلبي. شو عملت لنا العروبي؟ بكفي بهاي الدولة في إلنا احترام.
انت بهاي الدولة ولا شيء، انسان عادي، برغ صغير، مش اكثر من هيك.
رجل مجتمع.
الو،
رشيد، معك عضو الكنيسة يوسف وهبي من حزب إسرائيل حبيبتي.
اسرائيل شو؟
بدي مساعدتك.
بعد اسبوعين في تصويت على اقتراح قانون قومية الدولة اليهودية، وانا من مقدمي هذا الاقتراح.
مش فاهم ايش دخلنا بالموضوع؟ انا بخرج افلام مش دعايات.
هذا هو المطلوب. انا بعرفك مليح، شفت كل افلامك. انت درزي وطني واسرائيلي، وانا بدي تدقاك انك تسوق فكره انه هذا القانون مليح للطائفه. وكمان شغله، بدي تدقاك انه ما حدا يعرف انه انا من الموقعين على القانون.
ان تكون عندك طموحات، في امل تاخذي الاداره؟
קחי בחשבון, לא יהיה לך קל.
חושבת שהיא יכולה להחליט.
אם היא לוקחת את ההנהלה, אני עוזבת את הארץ. להיות מנהלת זה דורש הרבה.
وتفكر بمستقبلك وتتحمل مسؤولية على حالتك.
أنا مش مستعدة أضلني عايشة بهذا الوضع. كفي. تحمل شوية مسؤولية عاد. عبيتك، عولادك. علي. خلص.
لقيتي شغل؟ شو ما التعليم؟
مش لسه، بدي اعمل خدمه وطنيه.
شو؟
بدي اعمل خدمه وطنيه.
7 שנים עברו על הנוסח של חוק הלאום, מגילת העצמאות אגב כל כך מדויקת, ניסחו ב3 שבועות, ויש בה משפט אחד שנעדר מחוק הלאום, וזה מה שהופך אותו לכתם על כולנו.
ما معنى أن تكون مواطن؟
انت عارف شو راح يساوي هذا القانون بالطائفي وكل واحد مش يهودي بهاي البلاد؟
ايش راح يتغير يعني؟ ها؟ ايش راح يتغير؟ يا عمي هاي الدولة دولة يهود. احنا ما عندناش مشكلة بالموضوع. السؤال احنا شو ممكن نربح من كل هاي القضية؟
احنا ولا انت؟
בעד 62, נגד 55, נמנעו 2. הצעת חוק יסוד ישראל, מדינת הלאום של העם היהודי, אושרה כנדרש ב3 קריאות.
תחי מדינת ישראל.
تقدرش تحارب مؤسسة، لأنه كل شيء راح تعمله راح يخرب، مش بس عليك إلا على كل اللي حواليك.
انت لازم تقرر في اي صف انت.
إذا حاولت تعديني راح تخسر.
أنا واقعي في دولة اللي شايفيتك مواطن درجة ثانية.
ايش بدك أعمل مع فيلمك؟
ما معنى أن تكون مواطن تنتمي لأقلية داخل الدولة القومية اليهودية؟
وجودك وعدمه واحد.
بكرة لما أصير وزير راح أصبتك وراح أصير لك معماد، بس بدي إياك تلعب اللعبة بشطارة.
Adi Adwan, please, let's see you. Adi is the writer, director of this film, and Tony Kopti is the producer of this film. Adi, you have to unmute and talk so we can see you.
Yeah, hi, how are you? Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for this opportunity again. This is my third time here in this pitching forum. And I'm all yours. If you have any questions, I think.
Maybe you can say something personal because we saw parts of the film. We want to get to know you, what triggered you.
I'm a Druze filmmaker. And this story, Rashid, the main character, it's me. His wife in this film, it's my wife, and the kids is my kids. And the MK or the KMK, I guess, Knesset member is a real Knesset member that I really actually worked with about the national Jewish state or law. I don't even remember what's the name of it in English. Actually, it's from true events, and that's it.
Okay.
Questions?
Question, comments. Let's see what's going on.
Don't be hard on me, please.
I will say this from a pitch perspective, your movie, the short that you just showed was perfect. I know exactly what the movie is. I love what the movie is. That was very well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I have a question. So you filmed, is it a short by its own, or is it specifically for this pitch?
No, I just shot a teaser for, to try to have funding from this one. So not just for this pitching. I did it by my private money, so I can actually try to really have a fund for this film, even if for development maybe or something, so I can actually write it. I have script, but I need to maybe to see it again and again and maybe rewrite it. But this is why I actually shot this scenes. The actors are gonna be they're gonna be in the film actually, for real. I just did the auditions, and I have the cast, and all the cast is actually gonna be there. This is the cast, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So I'll just add to what Jay said, that I feel like you're painting a really clear picture. I think it really touching on the points of like these deep, challenging, and important questions and themes that you're bringing up that are so unique to Israel. And I think it's an important film that needs to be made. So I think you did a really great job communicating it to us and really delivering on it. So the quality and everything. So
thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I liked it. I liked it very much, and I thought that the your video pitch was terrific. One question. I mean, if he ultimately comes out against the whole piece, did he just do it so he could get his movie made, or did he actually believe in the cause, or did he just do it to get the movie made?
He didn't believe in the cause, but he actually actually understand that he's doing very wrong things. At the end in the film, we will see that he will actually didn't finish his film, and he will quit doing it because he don't want to do any more how do you call that, a mainstream films or something that talk to everyone. He wants to make other films. So actually, in the end of this film, he decided to do the Class B citizen when he understands that he is a Class B citizen. So this is the end of this film is doing this film, doing the Class B citizen.
Yeah, that's a good connection with you, Adi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for real, I did work for the Knesset member, and today he's a minister.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a Druze minister.
You
Very
must
nice.
have done a good job.
Yeah, he's a minister. He never answer my phones anymore, and I am trying to find myself.
And do you dance so well?
Excuse me?
Do you dance so well?
Maybe yes. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just looking around if anybody else would like to comment. Okay, no other comments. We'll go on. Norika, would you like to say something? I'm trying, okay.
Well, yes, I think like, yeah, to not repeat whatever was said so far, I understood the tone of the film. At the beginning, my question will be like, who is this film about? Who is the audience? Very soon when I meet the director and I see now the connection between who is behind this film, I can sense that it's not going to be as rough as what I saw, but it's going to be a lot more spirit to it, because for me it was like, yeah, in the beginning, like, who is this film made for? Like, who is the intention audience? But I can see that there will be a much more room for developing, because I see the director. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. It's good also to see different points of view. This is very interesting. Our international table has varied points of views. Okay, so now we have Corona Hotel, Mordechai Vardi of Radim Productions. We will see the video first.
When the coronavirus broke out, the first thing I did is to close the synagogue. But it was not easy, because some people of my community came and said, Rabbi, how can you close the synagogue? You know, even people in the Holocaust, they prayed in the cellars. How can you close the synagogue? It's like leaving the holy place empty. Religious Jews need the community for practicing their religious. And that's why all over the world, not only in Israel, ultra-Orthodox Jewish people had much more dying people from the virus than normal. So my story is about Rabbi Yoel and his wife Margaret from Jerusalem. One day he got a telephone that he was infected, and it was because of one of their children who went to school in spite of the order of the government to close all the schools. But the rabbi said that there's no way that children will not go to school to learn Torah. So they had an offer to move to a Corona hotel until they will cure. All the people there are all ultra-Orthodox. Rabbi Yoel becomes the rabbi of the community of the sick people in the hotel. Unfortunately, the situation of Margaret is getting worse and worse. She cannot breathe. They are taking her to an hospital. And one day, Rabbi Yoel got the message that she passed away. Rabbi Yoel have to go on an ambulance that will take him to the cemetery. There he will meet his 6 children, but he cannot go out of the ambulance because of his illness. He goes back to the hotel, and there he have to practice the 7 days of mourning. He's looking up to heaven, but the sky is empty. Now, when the people of the hotel comes to comfort him in his mourning, he shares with them his doubts about the blind faith in the rabbis who sent the children to school, and about their way of life, and about the big question, why the believers, the religious people, got this virus so hard and so many of them are dying. But the things of Yoel brings the community of the hotel to split, because some of them can identify with him and are willing to listen to him, but some of them decide to boycott him because he's poisoning their hearts and their minds, and he's coming to criticize the religions. It's something that is not acceptable. After Yoel finished these 7 days of mourning in the hotel, he recovers and he goes home. Rabbi Yoel leaves the hotel. He is empty, but he's full of questions. He's going to the cemetery to visit his wife's grave. And in the front of Margaret's grave, he promises to raise their 6 children in a different way. Now, if I summarize the script, the first part of the film will be about Yoel and Margaret. In the hotel, they have their intimacy. And because Margaret feels that this is the end, they can open things that they never spoke about. In the second part, after Margaret is hospitalized and Yoel is alone in the hotel, because he is like the rabbi of the community, many people come to consult with him and to ask his advice, and we get to know them and their conflicts and their problems and their way of thinking. And the third part of the script is when Yoel is losing it and he is criticizing and is raising up questions that nobody dared to ask before. So I think that although this film is about a very specific society, in many ways particular can be universal, especially in this period of time when many people feel that they have to recalculate their way of life and their view about the world. So I hope that many people around the world can identify with these characters and with these stories. And I want to thank you for listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mordechai Vardi, please unmute and speak so we can see you on the screen.
Okay, thank you very much. And I really want to hear what you think about what you saw.
It's a strange feeling because once you finish the video and you come on the screen, we feel as if we can grab you, you are real, we can get to know you. So who would like to speak first?
I'll just say, I think Mordecai, it's you're obviously hitting on a button that affects probably everybody in the world, you know, and you know, whenever you're investing large sums of money in art, you're doing it for personal reasons, but ultimately you would like, you know, people to use and consume and buy tickets to your production. And I think what you're, you know, I don't know what your motivations are. I didn't hear everything, but certainly I think it's a very timely and smart. You said it yourself. It's a universal theme. You know, I have a lot of friends that live in Republican Southern states, and they're very frustrated, you know, by these groups and communities that just won't vaccinate for whatever reasons, religious beliefs, anti-vaxxers. And it's the same in Italy, in England, it's the same all around the world. So you know, if you can produce, you know, a tight and universal message, I think it'll do well. So yeah, keep it up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Mordecai, can I ask you a question? Do you think, does your story apply, whether it's a coronavirus or anything, any health issue that affects a specific community? Or is it, because I kind of viewed it as the coronavirus was really just an engine to drive a story about people in certain aspects of a religion. Would you agree with that?
It's also about a crisis of religion, but it's also about the virus, because it's making a big mess about many people's life, especially close communities.
Right. But the movie is not about the virus, correct? The movie is about the aftermath in very specific communities because of it, correct? So the virus is just an engine to the storyline.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's a crisis of faith in a way.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I don't think I will agree. I like what it's about. I basically would try to just use the coronavirus as your engine. I'm not sure I like the title, because I think it takes me to a different place.
Yeah.
Because when I think about it, what you just showed me is completely different what the name of your movie is. So there's a couple of tricks of the trade, which is, when you see a trailer or when you hear an idea, you should stick to what that is, as opposed to trying to get me into something and then make it something else. So the one thing I would say is I like the crisis of a community as a through line. I like that a lot, but I don't think I understood exactly what it was until you went into the movie.
Okay.
I think, can I say something?
Of course.
I think the challenge is going to be to think about who you're making the movie for, because the relationship of the Hasidic community in Israeli society and in American society is very different. So that it's a very political, it's kind of a minefield that you're walking into. How you position the thesis, I don't know everything you want to say from your trailer, but it's going to be received differently in Israel and in the United States. So I would just, without going into political detail, I would just urge you to think that through and who is going to receive it. I mean, I think the short of it is there was a big issue on the first wave here in New York, that the Hasidic community in Brooklyn there was a huge outbreak, and they refused to follow the protocols, as the fundamentalist Christians are not following that largely in the US. But we're also dealing with anti-Semitism here in a different way. So it's just really, really delicate, and be careful. I would love for you to succeed.
Okay.
Actually, that's a good comment. Yeah.
What are you saying? Are you saying mine wasn't a good comment, Ruth?
No. What I meant, it's sort of no, God forbid, Jay. No, what I mean is, it's a surprising comment. We discuss it. Sometimes we don't expect this, so it's interesting. So Mordechai, you want to wrap this up somehow?
I think it's a internal criticism. It's like thinking again, because also in my community it wasn't easy to accept all the rules, and it's all the structure of the community fell apart, and we have to deal with it, and to maybe to look again about our life, and about what is important and what is less important, and how can we touch the main core of our life, and not the side effects.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. Jay, you want to say something? I see you on mute.
I was just going to say, what Mordechai just said and what you said, Ruth, I think piggybacks into what Wendy said. What I like about this, Mordechai, is it isn't, again, it's the virus is your engine. The movie should be relatable to any religious or cultural group, because it's about how it affects them and what they go through. That's what I was saying. I really like that, because you could watch this about Orthodox Jews in Israel, but you're going to relate to it based upon your own group, whether you're in Tennessee or Germany. That's what I liked about it, which is why I said to you, the virus is your engine to discuss what's happening.
Absolutely.
course.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you
That's
for
a very good comment, Jay.
really. I want to
My
thank you
master and
for,
my mentor. Yeah.
I just say that I thank you very much for emphasizing these things because it will help me.
That's the whole point of the pitching, to, you know, it's actually a creative arena to think and to work together. It's a work session. Okay, so now, just in time. I time all the time, just for your information. Yeah. So Daffodils, Hillel Rate, Marek Rosenbaum, Transfarks. Hillel, we'll see the video first.
We all have those decisions we have made in the past that in a way set the rest of the course of our lives, right? And my film is a film that talks exactly about those decisions. Daffodils tells the story of Nehemia and Bina Berlin, a dysfunctional religious couple in their 60s who decided 25 years ago to hand over their autistic son to an institution, a decision that has had a devastating impact on their lives to this day. It's also the story of Arik Levin, a secular, middle-aged, gay man, nomad circus juggler. 3 years ago, Arik abandoned his father as a revenge for not accepting his homosexuality and letting him die alone in the nursing home where he ended his life. Throughout the film, Nehemia, Bina, and Arik embark on a joint journey and are forced to face their own decisions. When I write about these characters and bring them to life through the script, I write with a desire to fix the relationship with my parents, as the characters are based off of my parents and myself. The story takes place over the course of 1 week and begins at night when Nehemia whispered to Bina that he wants a divorce. Bina, who is unable to deal with it, pretends to be asleep when she actually heard it all. The next Friday morning, the two arrive at their friend's son's wedding, while all the other older couple are seated at a main table. Bina and Nehemia are seated at a side table next to a group of young, unmarried couple have to listen to their 25 years old blubbers. And at this moment, the relationship is being tested. While the waiters are serving the first dish, Nehemia overhears a loud conversation coming from the older couple's table. He approaches, sits in someone else's chair, and listens with pleasure as each couple bragging about their glorious family. The round continues until it's Nehemia's turn. Without giving it one thought, Nehemia let his imagination go wild and begins to invent a story about a family he doesn't have. As he goes on and on, he sinks deeper and deeper into his lie, not knowing Bina overhear his little ridiculous performance. Bina approaches the table and with contempt reveals the truth to everyone. The truth about their autistic son and that even him, their only son, Nehemia refuses to visit. Shamefully, Nehemia runs out into the street. Arik, a Peter Pan man type in his 50s, asked Nehemia help to complete a minyan in a nearby cemetery for his father's yurtzeit. As a religious person, Nehemia couldn't refuse an opportunity to help execute a Jewish ceremony when actually Nehemia is so devastated and humiliated, he will grab any opportunity to disappear. And this is how he finds himself leading a Jewish ceremony alongside a bunch of colorful and vibrant circus people. Just to clarify, a minyan is a prayer quorum or the required quorum of congregants needed to conduct group prayer. Back to our story. Grateful but also curious about this religious man, Arik offers to take Nehemia back to Jerusalem. Nehemia is not thrilled with Arik's offer, but as a religious person, he is pressured from entering of the Shabbat and agrees to Arik's offer. And in this long journey from Haifa to Jerusalem, the two men become acquainted with each other's story. Arik shared with Nehemia that he was denied his own father for not accepting him as a gay man, and Nehemia shared his story about his autistic son. And then all of a sudden, Arik makes a detour and takes Nehemia to the institution where his son lives, despite Nehemia's protests. As they arrive there, they see that Bina is also there. Not even saying hello to Nehemia, Bina starts to tyrannizing. Then, much to her surprise, she can see that Nehemia and the guard of the institution are friendly with each other. She asks the guard how he knows Nehemia, and he explained to her that every week, Nehemiah comes with dozens of daffodils and donates them to the institution. And then it suddenly hit her, and she felt silence. Bina realized that Nehemiah, this man, who all these years she has been busy getting on and angry at for abandoning and ignoring their son's existence, is actually just like her, struggling with the decision they took 25 years ago. Like her, he is also regretted. Bina understands that these daffodils are Nehemiah's way every week to try, not to succeed, but to try getting closer to their son. Those without her knowledge, he has been trying for years. Arik, who made his journey with Nehemiah because he thought he could atone for his sin that not giving him rest, understand that it's not that simple. And there, at the entrance of the institution, it tells this to Nehemiah. Nehemiah, in response, even though he never did so, slowly and barely daring, entered the institution for the first time. And imagine to yourself a gray, sad, and broken institution, decorated and lit with hundreds of white and yellow daffodils. Nehemiah pulls out one lone daffodil, leaves the institution, and in act of grace, hand it over to Arik. Daffodils is a journey film shared by three broken people, one with a complete stranger and a couple who have become strangers over the years, during which each person's life will resonate with the other's life. At the end, the three will learn that it's impossible to go back in time, and that there are some choices we have to learn to live with. The film is produced by Marek Rosenbaum, who among others produced the film Late Marriage by Dover Kasashvili and The Slut by Agar Ben Asher. The visual language will characterize by a hand-handled photography and close-ups to capture the mental storm in the hearts of Nehemiah, Bina, and Arik, so we can be alongside them in this journey. Thank you.
So Hillel, kindly unmute. Thank you. I don't know if Marek is with us, but if he is, Marek, please unmute. Hillel? הלל, יופי, תדבר. We can't hear you. We can't hear you, הלל. הלל? לא שומעים.
זה נראה שיש לו תקלה, הוא לא מצליח. לא, זה אני חושב שיש לו תקלה והוא לא מצליח להפיל.
כן, עשינו את הטסט לפני שעה, הכל היה בסדר. הלל, אתה שומע אותנו? תעשה לנו רק תנועה שאתה אותנו שומע.
אולי הוא יכול לענות בצ'אט?
תכף ניתן לו הזדמנות ונראה מה לעשות עם זה. עדי, את יכולה לבדוק מה לעשות עם הלל רטה? שנייה, אני אצלצל אליו. עשינו איתו טסט והטסט היה בסדר. Okay, we agreed with Hillel that he can hear us. We will give comments and he will give us short answer with chat, and he'll also try to fix it so we don't lose time and not lose the effect of this speech. So would anybody like to comment anything or ask him so he can answer us in chat? Lee, it was your idea, so maybe we can start with you. Or was it Aliza's idea? Let's help him, you guys.
I like where the story, the journey ends up. You know, with them all going and finding themselves. It does seem rather convoluted way of getting there. I didn't understand where the circus people come in, you know, and what the point of that was. I can, you know, I like the idea of the young gay man, you know, kind of goading the older couple into doing something, and I do like where it ends up. But as I said, I felt it was a little confusing and convoluted, the journey to get there. I don't know what to do to really repair it, but that was just what I got from the talk.
Hillel, can you try to speak maybe?
Yeah, can you hear me now? Perfect. Okay.
Good, perfect. Thank you. I'm so happy.
I'm so sorry. Gary, can you please quickly repeat your question? I'm sorry.
Well, you know, it wasn't really a question. It was just, you know, I like where the journey ends up. I like the fact that, you know, Nima, the father, had been going to see the child without letting the mother know because she was destroyed, and that the young gay man finally, you know, makes peace with his father and at the thing. I just think the journey getting there, the way you were describing it, was a little convoluted, and it just sounded confusing to me. But I do like where it ends up, and I like the fact that the young man is propelling them out of their 25-year you know, stagnation over what, you know, putting their autistic child in the home. But again, I just think the journey sounds, the way you were describing it sounds a little, and again, you brought in all the circus people. I have no idea what the circus people are for.
Hillel, would you like to answer?
Yeah, I'll answer quickly. So basically there is this wedding in Haifa, and there is a nearby cemetery, and while Bina and Nehemia are at the wedding, this gay man, which is not young, is like is close to 60, he's like looking for a minion. Like he's going through this wedding hall, and he's looking for someone to help him to complete the minion. And he overhear Nehemia lies when he inventing this story about a family he doesn't really have, and this is how he's like noticing him and asking him for help, because he can see in him something that maybe can help him atone for his own sin. So this is how they get together, and etc. And the journey begins. Hope.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment or question? Perhaps Mike, perhaps Norika?
Yeah, I'm curious. It's a road movie, but tell us about the visual language again. You were talking about handheld. I'm not a huge handheld camera fan, I'm afraid, these days. I feel it's been an overused technique. And this film doesn't, I want to know why you think that suits this film, because this film seems to have some level of poetry to it.
Yeah, and I think there is nothing to do with, I think you still can get the poetry effect with handle photography. The thing is that I strongly believe that in this film the camera needs to be from the point of view of the characters. I mean, when you use tripod, when you use static form, there is sometimes this feel that the language of the film doesn't really, go along completely with the character and the emotional, journey that they're like going through. And with handle photography, I think that the camera are the eyes and the emotions of the character. So this is why it's really important for me to use this kind of language, but still I believe that you can get the poetry effects with that kind of shooting cinematic language.
Thanks.
Okay, one more maybe. No,
okay, I can jump on it. Like also for me, I since I heard the story, I could take that this is a bit poetic, and especially because the director is like mentioning that he wants a handheld camera to follow the emotional side of the characters. But for me, the conflict on this would be that then I have hard to believe that the story needs so many tricks, storytelling tricks, and maybe these kind of external excuses for the couple to make decision of going to make this visit. I would expect like to come from within more than this kind of meeting by chances. So I am having a bit of conflict with how the story is being told and what's the story about. So yeah.
Okay, so this is your chance, Hillel, maybe to help Norika.
Okay, so I'll do it quickly. I think you're right. There is this element of like accidental, meetings and consequential encounters. But for me, sometimes in life, we made, as I said in the beginning of the pitch, we made this, one decision that has like an effect on for the rest of our lives. And sometimes I believe as an Orthodox man, I believe in a way that sometimes in those by chance encounters are not really by chance and are like, helping us, get to the right targets, positions, even though it feels a little bit scriptinized, like someone took us and put it there. But in a way, this is the poetic and the spiritual level that I would like to bring to the film. Hope that's helped.
Thank you very much, Hillel. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the deposit. Anna Zamensky, Alon Newman. Please, let's see the video.
Imagine there is something you really want. You're ready to fight for it and give it your everything, but you fail, while others around you succeed easily. And you may seem like a successful person on the outside, but inside you feel hollow. You feel like a complete failure. That is what happens to Tali. She is a 37-year-old lawyer. She has everything you can dream of: a loving husband, a fancy flat, a dream job. She ticks all the right boxes, but one, becoming a mother. For some reason, her body just isn't capable of producing a healthy pregnancy. And she keeps trying. Month after month, she undergoes infertility treatments. She doesn't feel sorry for herself. She doesn't give up. She just increases the dosages of hormones, hoping it will get her there. But it gets her to the ER, where the doctors tell her she cannot continue, as it puts her life in danger. Her world is crushed, but they still want a child. And her husband suggests the option of surrogacy. Surrogacy, what a word. Everyone in Israel is talking about it and is having opinions about it. But this story is not about taking a stand. It's about how it feels to be inside this process. And I can assure you, it's nothing like what it looks on the outside. My son, Matan, was born in Tbilisi, Georgia. Matan in Hebrew means gift, and he is a gift from a Georgian surrogate. And this project was born as part of my attempt to process my experience and the role of the surrogate in my becoming a mother. But back to Tali. They go for surrogacy in Georgia because it's fast and efficient. But in fact, Tali is relieved not to have around the surrogate as a constant reminder of her failure as a woman and a mother. Tali shields herself from any more pain and disappointment. When the agency makes a point of calling this process the deposit, Tali just laughs cynically. She cannot see beyond her own disappointment and grief. She may be accepting the idea of surrogacy, but she cannot see the flesh and blood person behind it. Her name is Nina. She is a 27-year-old widow living in a Georgian village. She has a 4-year-old son, Gogi. He does not speak a word and has an unhealthy dependency on his mother. Nino decides to go for surrogacy to get money for expensive treatments for Gogi. She feels alone and frightened in the big city, and the pregnancy is hard for her because she needs to take care of her child. But then something happens. Her pregnancy runs into complications, and Tali is forced to go to Tbilisi and meet her and confront her emotional blockage. The meeting between Tali and Nino could not be any more awkward or hilarious, with Nino not speaking a word in English and Google Translate not working or giving phrases which make no sense at all, and Gogi tearing up the expensive gifts that Tali brought to Nino. And then Nino goes to premature labor and is taken to the hospital to try to stop it. And Tali is stuck with her son, who develops a surprising connection to her. Tali spends some days with him, and she starts bonding to the child. Tali will never experience her own pregnancy, but her motherly feelings are awakened by Nino's son, and she begins her journey and connecting to her motherhood. And now to the highlight of the story, the birth of Tali's son in Tbilisi. Seeing Nino undergoing so much pain instead of Tali and for her is really surreal. And it also brings back her own memories of disappointments, of injections, of abortions, of doctors promising her next month. And now it's time for Tali to meet her son. And she is overwhelmed emotionally. She thanks Nino and takes the child to the window where they both look at the great and beautiful statue, the mother of Georgia, overlooking the city and shielding it from any harm with its sword. Some years ago, there was something I really wanted. I fought for it. I gave it my everything, and I failed. By working on this project, I choose not to feel a failure anymore. I choose to be thankful for what it taught me and how it changed me. I choose to embrace my story and share it with you. Thank you.
This bittersweet drama about two women from different classes, different cultures, and different places in the world is a fertile ground for many conflicts, both in terms of content and form. The filming in Israel, Georgia, and Germany enriches the visual of the film and constitute a strong contrast that is wonderfully filmed. The Deposit is an international film that appeals to the entire population of the world, both women and men, and speak to the primal instinct of all of us, parenting. The script is in development stage that will be completed soon. We are looking for partners, a production company that will provide a solution for the parts that will be filmed outside of Israel. Thank you. Thank you for watching.
Oh,
Thank you.
here you are. So this is Anna, and very current, relevant subject, situation in our lives, especially as women, also I think for men. So I don't want to be banal and ask Norika and Wendy, but maybe I should. Mike, would you like to comment? And Jay, that's very nice. And Wendy, lovely. Whoever wants, Jay, go first.
You want me to go first? Sorry, I
Yes.
will say this. Anna, I think you're a wonderful pitcher. I love your expression. I think you gave me the emotion during scenes. I think you did a fantastic job. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I think it's a very universal subject. I'm not 100% sure what your tone is. I think it changes a few times for me, but I really like the idea of the film, and I think you did a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, that's rather consistent with what I wanted to say, which is that it's a story, it is a universal story, and it's a story that we have heard and seen told before. So without, without a clip, we don't have a good sense. I don't get a good sense of what your take is on it. What is it about this telling of the story that's going to distinguish it from other tellings of surrogate motherhood that we have heard before? And I think there's a danger of dipping into melodrama that you will want to be very, well, I mean, maybe you don't want to be very careful, but I think, one would want to avoid that kind of melodramatic emotion. So I'm still waiting I would like to see what is unique, what is different about your take on this story.
Okay, can I answer that, Ruth?
Yes, of course.
Oh, thank you so much for the comments. I think what is unique, I mean, you have obviously seen this is a very personal angle, so I can tell the story really well because I have experienced this moment of standing on the bedside of the stranger woman who is undergoing severe pain instead of me and for me. So this moment is really surreal, and I feel like it really deserves that someone tells this experience. I think that not many stories tell the side of the intended mother and how she perceives the surrogates and how they meet and they see each other and they see each other's difficulties and they discover empathy and they create some bonding. So they both enter this process in an emotional blockage. So the intended mother is really suffering and she is blocked. The infertility treatments have really shut her down emotionally, and she enters this process, and at the end she makes a journey and she connects to the woman standing on the other side of the rope, and also to her own motherhood, which has been concealed by all the suffering from the technical details of this process. So I think the uniqueness of this story is just telling it honestly. So there are many awkward moments, many funny moments. I would not see it as melodramatic, but more a very honest and quiet story, telling it like it is, because I know how it is.
Thank you.
Very compelling response. And I think it took a long time in your pitch, which I agree with Jay, was very, sucked us all in and we were with you. But if the crux of the story is that emotional bonding between the two women, that speaks volumes to me. And maybe it just took too long for that to be foregrounded in your presentation, because that makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. I see Mike unmuted in Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I like this. It's a very moving story. But I want more humor, actually. I want it to play more lightly, and I can see it working commercially and at festivals if there's a real sense of not sort of comedy necessarily, but just more lightness to it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what you think about that, Anna.
Yeah, that was the idea. I mean, there are many hilarious moments coming from the clash of different cultures between an Israeli living in Tel Aviv and having, a great life, and a woman coming from a Georgian village. So I can tell you from personal experience, some moments were really funny, and I intend to use them. I also have made my research. I am a member of a secret Facebook group of people who did this process, and I collected a lot of really funny stories. So that is the idea, to make it also a bit light. But at the end, it is a very emotionally charged story. So, a balance between being funny and light and really speaking to the heart of people, because the situations created there are really unique.
Okay, we have time for just one last comment, Gary.
I got a bit nervous. I mean, it is a wonderful story, and you could really feel the emotion of the woman of Tali, but I got a bit nervous when you brought in the whole aspect of the son in Georgia who doesn't speak, and he's so much, and then they spend the day together, because it all of a sudden seems like that could be going off into another, as I think Wendy mentioned, melodramatic, about, oh, well, here's the mother and here's the son who doesn't speak, and they're going to spend the day while his mother is in the hospital. And I just got a bit nervous about that. I don't know if it's necessary. It's great that they spend a day together, but maybe not that he's, got this problem of he can't speak, because then that adds a whole different element to it. And I mean, I think it would be great if they spend a day and have a wonderful day, and she can be with this young boy, and she's excited because, his mother is going to give her baby. But the element of the not speaking and being together kind of scared me a bit.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to comment just one sentence before we go on?
Yes, thank you. So I will certainly think about it. The idea is to give the surrogate, the Georgian woman, a really serious reason to go into this process, because also for her, it's a very risky decision, because she's afraid of gossip, and she makes it, finds it very hard. It's a very courageous decision for her, and she does it for the sake of her son. So it also adds more weight on why she's doing it. So she's also doing it to be the best mother for her son that she can be. And in that sense, she is a symmetric reflection of Tali. They both do it to be mothers.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. So now we have a last speech before a very short break. And this will be Elka's not a shikse. Elka is not a shikse. Aliza Khanovich, Alona Refuah. Let's see the video.
Hi everyone, my name is Alona Refuah, and I'm one of the producers of Elka's Not a Shikse, a wild Jewish comedy and the debut film of this lovely screenwriter and director, Aliza Khanovich. I've known Aliza for almost 10 years. We both went to the Sam Spiegel Film School, and even though we haven't studied in the same year, it was really hard to miss Aliza in her short films. They're all very American in a crazy extrovert and hilarious kind of way. And they really stood out in comparison to the dramatic atmosphere we were used to. Her first short got a lot of attention in Israel and abroad. It premiered at Berlinale and Palm Springs also, and participated in many more festivals. Her graduation film, Shabbos Kala, won 6 international prizes and screened in tens of festivals. And Elka's Not a Shikse, based on this short, so we would really love to show you a scene from it. And here it goes.
Gosh, I don't know what to say. I just want to bless you that, even when you and your husband are fighting for days or weeks even, and in 2 years, you should also have this great love that my husband and I have now.
וזהו, ושתבנו בית נאמן בארץ ישראל.
To build a bait neman. Build a bais neman b'Israel. Build a bais neman. You should just build a bais neman beretz Israel. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Well, speaking of holes, I want to give you a bracha that you should be able to figure out where all of the holes are and know which one is for which, so that when you get there the night of your wedding, you know where it goes, and that you should.
Okay, thank you, Alka. That's enough.
Amen.
Nine, 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 nine.
Hi, I'm Aliza Chanowitz. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. 10 years ago, my decision to move to Israel wasn't completely thought out. I was idealistic. I had a fetish for Israeli soldiers. And after all, it's a Jewish country and I'm very Jewish, so I knew that I would be fine. 3 of my childhood best friends also moved by themselves to Jerusalem, and they became my stand-in family. We would spend Shabbat and holidays together and would complain to each other about all the rude Israelis. And though they all remained Orthodox, like the way that we were brought up, I went to film school, which is where I wrote about sex and yeast infections, which was very freeing and ultimately led me down a more secular path. My new lifestyle sometimes made me feel like an outsider with my friends, but when I would tell them stories about the soldiers that I slept with, they would cringe and then ask for more details. And then something devastating happened. My best friend Donna got engaged. And I tried to be happy for her, but at the engagement party, I sat on the side bawling my eyes out because here's this guy we barely knew who just waltzed in and stole her away from us. The family that we created was officially broken, and I felt abandoned. And that feeling was the moment of conception for my film. My film is about childhood best friends Elka and Menucha, two American girls who grew up in an Orthodox community in Brooklyn and then moved to Jerusalem together. Right now, they're not talking because Elka, the secular one and my heroine, doesn't support Menucha's quick engagement to a yeshiva student. The story takes place in a villa at Menucha's Shabbos Kala, which is basically a Jewish religious bachelorette party, the weekend before the wedding. Elka shows up uninvited in hopes of making amends before she loses her best friend for good. But she's constantly being demeaned, mostly by her arch nemesis Yael, who's Menucha's future sister-in-law, who's trying to push the shiksa out of the picture. And the only one who's on Elka's side is Eli, Menucha's younger brother, who's a yeshiva student in Brooklyn and has been in love with Elka since he was a little boy. They restart their secret affair and they're having sex in the 12 bushes in the backyard. When all of Menucha's seminary friends arrive, Elka sees a photo of the groom for the first time and she almost pukes. The groom is Shmuley and she had a threesome with him last Purim. Elka changes gears and she tries to convince Menucha that she needs to break up with Shmuley. She barely knows him. He has a dark past and it's so clear that Menucha has been brainwashed into thinking that this is all there is to life. Menucha confesses that, yeah, she has doubts, but there's no way out for her now because she's already pregnant with his child. Dun, dun, dun. Yael overhears this and she tells it to the Rebbitzin of the community who, in front of all of her guests, shames Menucha for being loose and she calls off the wedding. It's the outcome that Elka wanted, but it feels awful. Not only is Menucha crushed, but she and her unborn child will be pariahs of the community that she loves. Elka realizes she has to take it upon herself to save the wedding and to prove that she's a loyal best friend. And she manages to do so. Like a good romantic comedy, the wedding takes place, though in a different way than they originally planned. And although Elka and Menucha are friends again, it's clear that their friendship will never be the same. The film is a comedy that takes place in a world and a community that I know well, that I'm critical of, and that I love at the same time. I laugh at them, I laugh with them. Mostly I laugh at them, but from the inside. Thank you.
Thank you, Eliza. And regarding the project status, we're currently working on the second draft of the script and starting the funding process. Our budget is approximately $600,000, and we hope to shoot it in October of next year. So thank you all so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you, we can hear you. It's very nice.
Great story and great pitch, Elisa. I really liked it. It was fun. It was uplifting. It's, I mean, a little risque, and but it's, as you said, it's comedy, it's community, and you laugh at them, you laugh with them, and that's what we all do. And congratulations. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I agree with Gary. You're both hit on all the touch points we want to know: the budget, the script version, the style. You're both well spoken. You obviously have a good disposition with a good sense of humor, and that comes through not only in your pitch, but in the clip we saw. I thought the clip was well cut and a really nice flow of dialogue without those awkward pregnant pauses you sometimes find in comedy. So yeah, when we signed the agreement with Israel last year, I didn't mention at the beginning, but part of that agreement was also with Dana Cohen at the Sam Spiegel School. And you have vindicated everything she's told me about the school. So well done.
And it's a terrific title.
And
I like, it's a terrific title.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, anybody else?
I'm just.
Oh, sorry, Jay.
No, Mike, go ahead.
No, I had a blast with this. I love this blend of sort of New York Jewish humor and Israeli humor. It's a really, really refreshing. You're obviously, you really know your comedy and the comedy beats. I really want to see it. I was really delighted by it, I have to say.
I really want to make it.
Elisa, did you see Shiva Baby last year?
I saw the short. I haven't seen the feature yet.
It made me laugh so hard, and I love that sort of female-centric view of the community. You have to see it.
It's on the list. It's on the list.
Yeah, you wanted to say something?
I just want to add in, Elisa, I think you could be the Israeli Phoebe Waller, right? The woman from Fleabag. You have a very similar sense. I thought you did a wonderful job. You are funny. You are charming. I love the story. Congratulations.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Hans, you unmuted itself. You want to add something? No. Okay.
You did. Whoops. No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'll say something. I just think there's not a lot of good romantic comedies these days. I rarely get any good scripts for that genre. So if the script is solid, I think you have something really great. I think it's a great timing for these type of stories, especially with all the Israeli TV shows right now on Netflix. And during your pitch, which really kept my attention, I also saw a TV show. So I think there's something there to explore about these two American girls going to Israel and story in general. I think it's worth it's exploring as well. Because I think there's more there from your experiences that can be stretched more than just a feature. So just encourage you to also explore that.
Thank you. So,
can I say that a TV series that Aliza created and write already going to production?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Where?
So, in Hot.
In Hot. Lovely. Good for you.
Yeah, but like they pushed off the filming date so many times, so I'm just like.
But it's a different thing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. Alana, do you want to wrap just one sentence before we go on?
No, I think we said it all, and we are ready to production, and we're looking for partners in the US and in Europe. So whoever is interested can contact us.
Okay. Sorry, Lee.
No, just because you mentioned second draft. So what does that exactly mean? Is it ready to be shot? Like at what stage is the script when you say second draft?
There are a lot of things that I worked on that I'm still working on and the story still figuring out. I think overall I have the entire framework of it. I have a lot of scenes and a lot of characters that it's all there. I think there's something about the process that I can take it one step further, and I'm like working on what that one step further is. I mean, it's like this is like a second draft of like many other drafts that have come before of like where I'm happy the script is now. So from this place, I feel like I'm really happy with where the script is. I got to where I want to be, and like I just want to take it like one more level, and I will.
Thank you. That's nice. Okay. So now it's 7:21. Let's take a break until 7:45, okay? 7:45, not more. We need to continue by then. So if you need to grab a coffee, smoke a cigarette, take a shower, okay? But please be even 2 minutes before that so we can exactly start on time. Don't close your Zoom, just freeze your photo. Have fun. 7:45. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's start. We also remember we have people behind our scenes watching, and I get mails that this is interesting for them, and this is interesting for us also. So let's go on. We are very proud to host the filmmakers who will introduce themselves from Prefest, the winners of Prefest 2021. And the film is Made in Dust. And please, let's see the video first.
Hello. Hi. I am Ayola Daya, the film director and scriptwriter based in Tirana, Albania.
I'm Sabina Kodra, the film producer. The company I'm running, Era Film, is based in Tirana, Albania since 2001.
Made of Dust is a character-driven film about Margarita, 50 years old woman, who gets released from prison after an 8-year sentence for the murder of her husband, who has abused her for years. For the first time in her life, Margarita is free, without anyone telling her what she has to think, what she has to do, and where she has to go. Finally out of the physical, spiritual, and psychological cell. In nowadays Tirana, which she doesn't recognize anymore, she's in the middle of chaos, dust, and traffic. The only person that connects Margarita with the city and her past is Oriana, her 30-year-old daughter, with whom she has lost touch for many years. With a very strong instinct as a mother, Margarita runs to meet Oriana. She knocks at the door and waits. Nicole, her nephew 5 years old, opens the door. Margarita is realizing the new life of Oriana. Oriana comes at the door and doesn't invite Margarita inside. She is afraid that the past of Margarita will influence her new life. In this encounter, after so many years, without talking about their past and their trauma, Margarita will understand that Oriana gave up to the studies, has no profession, and has become a housewife, married to Artan, a man that provides everything to the family and thinks that woman is not necessarily needed to work. Facing this reality, Margarita starts talking and debate with Oriana, explaining her how hard and difficult it was for Margarita to leave the countryside, come to Tirana, and give Oriana a better life, a good education, and the possibility to become someone that Margarita never was. Into this journey, Margarita will understand that her duty as a mother is finished, and realizing that for the first time in her life, she doesn't want to be a mother anymore. She wants to be a woman. And here starts this beautiful and painful self-exploration of Margarita towards freedom, identity, and sexualization. Made of Dust is a film about freedom, surviving, and self-loving.
I strongly believe that we should talk about women like Margarita as the light in the end of the tunnel. We are in early stage of the first draft of the script, and the total budget of the project is 520,000 euro. The co-production structure is Albania, France, Kosovo, and we are still looking for the fourth country in co-production. We need script development support and forums to have a great script package, but above all this, a great project and a great film.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was afraid to say your names, but I can say Ayola Daya and Sabina Kudra. Please unmute yourself.
Hello. Hello.
So this is nice. Thank you. This is again the winner of FreeFest 2021, out of competition, invited for a forum for our jury and guests to hear and to comment and to ask. And this is an opportunity for both sides of the screen. So I would like to hear from any one of our guests or jury.
Hi, I'll go first. I think that's a good pitch. Can I ask, why did she kill her husband? And what's the tone of the movie? Is it a coming of age dramedy? Is it a black comedy? What is it in your eyes?
It's a drama. She killed her husband because he abused her for many years. And I need to tell you something. Here in Albania, this is a big problem, and it's really frustrating because we have a lot of women killed year by year. But this is the beginning of the story. She killed her husband because of this. He has abused her for many years, and she stopped facing this reality. And this is a drama. This is an intimate drama, and the self-exploration of the main character.
Yeah, it's a problem in Israel also, violence on both sides of the,
Yeah.
Well, definitely this is not a film about violence. This is a film about surviving, actually.
Yeah.
And this is a film how a person can feel for the first time in her life or in his life free, and without anyone telling what to do and where to go. And basically this is a kind of escaping from freedom or going into the freedom, because at the first moment that she gets out of the prison, we see someone that she tries to get in touch with her past. But more she goes deeply into this process, she understands that she doesn't want this anymore. She wants to be free, and she wants to do things that she never could dare before doing. So this is the metamorphosis of the character and how we follow her, and we see what happened with this character. And definitely I think is a strong approach for a lot of persons, especially women. I should emphasize that when they are deep inside into the darkness, they have the strong capacity and the possibility to get out. So this is a story of surviving and how you can really go in the end of the tunnel.
So can I say that I actually love the idea of that. I love a movie about a woman of age who's going to reinvent herself for reasons in her past, and I do really love that. There was a short film a few years ago about a woman who was 70, whose husband died, and none of her friends would hang out with her because she was too close to death, and all the women were afraid she would flirt with her husbands. And it was about how she chose to become visible again after being invisible for so long. So nice. I think you have some really fascinating themes to it. I'm not, if it's about survival and recreating, then I probably needed to know that she was in an abusive relationship. And I'm not necessarily sure that has to be the biggest component of it, but I do love the idea of a 50-year-old woman who's now going to become who she always was.
Okay, anybody else?
I had a question. You mentioned about the co-production with the 3 countries looking for the 4th one. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Why do you need another country, and why you chose these specific countries for the co-production?
Well, basically all the productions we do in 20 years are co-productions. We do complex co-productions. We don't do easy ones. And usually we really need to co-produce because some artistic elements are really necessary, but especially post-production and during the script development also we need support. So far, France is very natural to us because Ayola has her previous film working with this co-production, and Kosovo also is very natural to her. We are from Tirana, Albania, not Kosovo, even though we speak the same language and we have the same culture. And co-producing with Kosovo also is very natural to us in artistic elements. But the fourth country that we are looking for is because we want to add value, but also in very practical and financial matters. So as I mentioned, since the beginning, we are in early stage of the script. And we really believe that co-productions bring something some values into the films because they give a different approach, give a different universal point of view, different location, different as I said, approach. So yeah, that's why we're looking for the fourth country. We want to keep it simple, but also a bit complex.
And Gary, would you like to say something from your point of view, maybe?
I mean, I like the whole thing about the woman, Marguerite, all of a sudden the freedom, after all these years, and then it seems that she gets trapped again. How much, I understand you won something in Kosovo, which is, the Partner Festival. What was the award you won in Kosovo?
The best pitch.
The best pitch. Okay, so we're still at that level. So that's, and you're looking for the co-producers from the countries, and great.
Okay, one last comment or we go on. Fight for it. Okay, but I think
maybe I can tell something.
Okay,
I just wanted to say after reading so many scripts this year, I can tell some themes. And actually, I read a few scripts this year about this situation. A person comes out of jail and has to meet again his family. We just shot a film by Shalom Hager about a man coming out of prison after he violently murdered his wife. And what I wanted to say is that it's actually surprised me, the story. I read maybe 4 scripts and I thought it was really original that this story is about self-love. For me, it was really surprising and quite unique.
That's lovely, Avital. Thank you. Avital is I think, how shall I say, the filmmakers
head of selection and development.
Head of selection and development, but informally, she is the connection of the filmmakers with their dreams. So thank you for chipping in. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was really great being part of this forum. Thank you.
Lovely. So that's Ayola Daya and Sabina Kudra. Thank you very much. Okay, we will continue with Life Without a Credit. Tom Choval, director and writer, Itai Akirav, Harbor Films. And I think in this case, we may even say something about the actress you will see in a few moments in the video. Please, the video.
Hi. It's the middle of the night, around 5 o'clock. I couldn't sleep. I was thinking about the character of the film about Libby. It's kind of like turning around in my bed. It's really hard to talk about her. I mean, she's roaming the streets, a vagabond without a home. She just escaped a mental institution.
she is defined crazy by the society. I don't know if she is, but this is how she is defined. When she was younger, she and her brother were orphaned by their parents, and her brother institutionalized her in a mental house and took her guardianship. He's become her guardian, and the money that their parents left them and disappeared. And for a few years, she's been living in mental institution, but now she escaped. She's free for now, and she's on the street, but she has a mission. It's not aimless. She wants to find Ezra, her brother, and he wants him to withdraw his guardianship and set her free. It's kind of seemed like a lost cause because Ezra disappeared. Nobody has seen him for some time now. And she only has his address where he lived a few years ago. So she goes there, and there she starts her investigation. So why is it so hard to talk about this? I mean, I feel that it's hard to talk about a character that is defined crazy and kind of like tell her story. I mean, I feel this is urgent to do the film and not to talk about it because we need to hear her voice, even if it's hard, you know, like sometimes the truth lies where it's not really easy to grasp, and it's not so easy to hear. And Libby's mental state, maybe, I don't know, I can't explain it, but her subconscious is like outside. She's saying whatever she thinks. Brutal as the truth can be, she says it in your face. So when people know that she is crazy, they just define her or just turn away and or go to the other side of the street or just ignore her. But this film will not let us ignore her. We will let everybody hear her truth, even if it's painful. And maybe we're going to discover Libby, her ambitions, her dreams, her solitude. This film for me is a love poem for a character that nobody loves. I love you, Libby, and I want you, everybody, to hear your voice. Here is your voice.
מה את שותקת? מה, נעלבת שאמרתי לך שמבזבזת את החיים? מבזבזת את החיים שלך?
לא.
כי נכון, את מבזבזת את החיים, זה לא משהו שצריך להיעלם, נכון?
לא, זה בסדר.
בסדר לך.
למה את אומרת שזה בזבוז זמן?
מה זה סוציולוגיה? מה זה סוציולוגיה? מדעי חברה, נכון? איזה מדעים ואיזה חברה? מה, אני שואלת אותך איזה חברה ואיזה מדעים? אני זה חברה, את זה חברה. מישהו כאן, מהאנשים יכול להגיד שהוא חברה, זה הכל מישהו פה חבר של מישהו, זה חלקים שלא מתחברים. האדם הפשוט שמנסה לשרוד את יומו זה לא חברה, החברה זה התאגידים והגופים שאנשים רוצים להיות חברים בהם, אבל זה לא הופך אותם לחברה, ואין פה שום מדע ושום היגיון. מאכילים לך את הראש במספרים ובמילים, ואז כולם הולכים ושותים את המים שלהם, עם השיקויים שלהם, החיידקים של החרא וחוטפים סרטן. למה? למה כל כך הרבה אנשים מתים מסרטן? שאלת את עצמך למה יודעת מה זה פלואוריד? את יודעת מה זה פלואוריד? בבקשה, אף אחד לא יודע, אף אחד לא יודע כלום, אף אחד לא שומע כלום, אנשים לא שומעים שאומרים להם חיים בחושך כמו הטלפים במערה, ובלי הבחנה תוקפים אחד את השני מהפחד, מהבעלה, שותים אחד לשני את הפרצוף, שותים את המוח עם קש. את והחברים שלך, בזמן שאתם יושבים שם בחוג שלכם במזגן, חושבים שגיליתם איזה הלך, איזה רוח, בזמן הזה מכחידים אתכם. מכחידים? נו, מכחידים, כן, מה את עושה כאילו את לא יודעת, איך קיבלו אותך סוציולוגיה? היום ההכחדה זה ברמה הכישופית, היום הכל כישוף, אין יותר נשק, נשק זה ימי הביניים, היום לא משתמשים בנשק יותר, לא צריך להשתמש בנשק כדי להרוג לך את המוח מבפנים, נכנסים לך למוח, לוקחים חלק, מוציאים חלק, מכניסים חלק, הופכים אותך לזומבי, יודעת מה זה זומבי? יודעת מה זה זומבי? כן. יודעת מה זה זומבי? כן. איך את יודעת? בבקשה, הוליווד שמוליווד, נכון? ברד פיט, ערפדים, ג'וליה רוב הסרטים שעשו את הסרטים האלה בשביל לגרום לך לשכוח מעצמך, לטמטם לך את המוח, לערפל לך את החושים כדי שלא תרגישי שעושים ממך זומבי, כמו אדוני פה והחוקים שלו, זה הכחדה ברמה העולמית, הקיומית העולמית. מה אתה צוחק? צוחק עכשיו. אתה מוכחד ברגעים אלה. אתם כולכם פה תחת כישוף זומבים. לא לצחוק, אל תעשו לי את המצב רוח טוב. אנחנו עולים לירושלים, שקט, לא לצחוק. שמות אבודות, אנשים מסכנים, לוקחים כדורים ותרופות שמערפלים להם את החושים וחוסמים להם את הלב. אל תברכי עכשיו למכשירים שלך, אני אומרת לך דברים חשובים, תקשיבי מה שאני אומרת לך.
שנייה אחת?
אין שנייה, אין דקה גם, אין זמן עכשיו.
סליחה, מה רצית להגיד לי?
אל תהי נחמדה עליי סתם, אני לא משוגעת מחמד, אני משוגעת רצינית מאוד, שאומרת רק דברי אמת. את יכולה לבחור להקשיב לי ולהציל את החיים שלך, את יכולה לבחור להיות זומבית כמו החברים שלך, אז זומבים, ולהיות זומבית, תבחרי.
אני מקשיבה.
כולם. אבל כולם מנסים להרפל לך את המחשבה, ככה הם מחלישים את הבן אדם, חשבו שהם הרגו את המכשפות, שרפו את המכשפות, אבל זה לא היו מכשפות, זה היה סתם נשים חסרות מישע, חפות מפשע, כמוני, נשים כמוני שמנסות להגיד לך פעם אחת האמת, והמכשפות הן עוד מסתובבות כאן בחוץ, וקוראים לעצמם רופאים עם חלוקים לבנים ושיניים לבנות מפלואוריד, ומחכים לך שיקויים וכדורים וחרא, ושטחים ובניינים על הכחול, על הירוק, וליהודים, רק ליהודים, לי ולך, שלנו, אנחנו כבשנו את כולם, שרדנו מפה, כבשנו מפה, ובשביל מה? הנהג לא יודע איפה אנחנו, אז היה שווה שחיילים ימותו במלחמה כדי שהוא יגיד להם 22 שקל? למה את שותקת?
שיבה לך.
So this was Dana Ivgi, the actress, and Tom, please unmute yourself and let's talk with you.
I'm unmuted. Hopefully everybody can hear me.
So we can hear your voice as well. I hope you slept well tonight.
No, I don't sleep so much this period of time. Also because I'm worried about Libby, but also because I have a baby and she has a tough time going to sleep, so I'm with her all night.
Okay.
But that's a good thing.
Yeah. So who would like to start? Norika.
Okay. I mean, first of all, when he started to pitch the story, I think it was worth starting like that because it gives a feeling of mystery to all think, and it became even more mysterious to me. What is this all about? I had not a very good idea about the story. Still, I don't have, but I think when I saw the clip, then I recognize it's it's a character that triggers me to follow. And for me, it was daring how the character was visualized. But again, I'm not sure, it's just a question maybe, or I would love to hear the director talk more about it, because this is a very strong piece I saw, and I think it's strong because I still don't know how to perceive it. Like, how do I react towards it? I understand what you mean with the crazy person, because for me it was a bit trouble to hear you say she's crazy. People think about her crazy. I wanted to know what is crazy in your film, but then I am just curious, how is the story? Because it seemed like she has a purpose to find her brother, but how will the story develop, or evolve? What is more from her character than this very strong moment of her?
Yeah. Okay, Tom.
Yeah.
Story.
So
very quickly, yeah.
Yeah, it's very quickly. I will say that she has an address of her brother that he gave her when after he put her in the asylum, and when she escapes, she's going there, and from there starts kind of this odyssey, which is some kind of an investigation that she is doing, and kind of like a road movie or an odyssey where she's trying to find her brother and trying to take every clue that she can find. And she meets people that were in contact with him. A lot of them are also like people from, I say, like the proletar level, and she tries to find him and also kind of like establish his persona or his face, how he would look now, how their meeting would be. And of course, we are aiming for the moment that they are meeting. And if Libby could actually get her freedom, or is it not really something easy to do?
So instead of waiting for Godot, it's looking for Godot a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
The reader said that. Yeah, a little bit. Gary, you want to say something?
Yeah, I really like the story. It's very moving. One of my best friends in the world, who was a very successful Hollywood personality, is exactly like her now. She's, had been having some problems, and you capture that very well. And I actually got tears in my eyes while I was watching it because of my connection with, going from, fluoride to born zombies to this and that, and just that crazed train of thought. And I like the journey that she's trying to find her brother to be free. I respect your emotions, but I think you opened it up with this very down, and it just didn't work for me. I get what you were trying to do, but if you're trying to really pitch something, you set the emotion, but it also was very confusing and very dark. And I thought you were almost the same as Libby. But now I see you're not, now that you're there. But, I would worry, I know what you were trying to do, or I think I know what you were trying to do, and I appreciate it. But the footage that we see in the actress was just phenomenal, because it really does capture that kind of person. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, Gary. Wendy, I see you want to speak.
Yeah, and I'm going to disagree with my very good friend Gary, who I've known for decades. You had me when you said I couldn't sleep last night because I was thinking about the character. And everything that followed reinforced the depth of theme and character study and emotion that we finally saw in the clip, which, and frankly, I didn't, your pitch was such that I didn't expect that we were going to see footage at the end. So I was actually really pleasantly surprised that it even, again, as I say, corroborated my impression of your pitch, that it was a very deep sense of the emotional life of that character. And I think you have a really, really strong vision there. I think that the two prior, I think as a marketing executive, we do need to have a story to hook that onto so that we can tell people what they're going to come and see when they come to the cinema. But I think, your execution is brilliant. The writing is brilliant. And this is, and I hate saying this, but this is my distributor hat speaking. Black and white is really a problem. I mean, I hate that it is a problem, but it is a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom, I'll give you the last word in a moment, but I see Hans, did you want to say something? Because I see that you unmuted.
No, I think everything was set. I just thought it was really smart, Tom, to use the choker, variant, the shot frames of Dana. She's such a compelling and good actress. I just thought that was really smart. And just as Wendy disagreed with Gary, I'm going to disagree with Wendy. I think black and white can be, the artist says it all. I think black and white can really work, especially if it's a dark subject matter. So I think you've thought it through. Well done.
Thank you. So Tom, do you want to just say the last word before we go on?
Thank you everybody for your comments. It was really thoughtful and emotion. Oh, my baby's crying. Oh my God. But no, it will be okay. My wife is there. I just say that I go, when I go to sleep, I have Libby in my mind all the time. It's very intimate. So I don't know how to talk about her. Only when there is night and I can be outside of my of my suit as a person and as a director. She's in my subconscious. She's in my heart. So this is the only way I could do it. And I understand it's probably getting dark or very depressing, and I'm sorry for that. But I think if you see the character, you see that there is nothing depressing about her. She's very alive, and she has a lot of emotion, and she has a lot of motivation to live and to be free. And sometimes I envy her very much. And I want to be close to her. And maybe I would say another little thing about the performance and about Dana. It's sort of a collaboration between me and her. We kind of like found the character together, and we kind of like jumped into this deep water of this character, and we want to have this dangerous chance to do it again.
Lovely, Tom. Thank you very much.
Thank
Very
you.
moving.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on with passing through Yair Schwartz, Karen Bells, Benenhoff Productions. Let's see the video.
Imagine we're in a small village in the north of Israel. It's a Friday afternoon and the streets are empty. We're slowly carried by the wind that leads us to a neglected front yard of a house as we float into the living room of the Rice family that has gathered to celebrate Shabbat dinner together. It's been 3 years exactly since Lior, one out of the 4 children of Dina and Menachem, that has died in a hit-and-run accident, and the family never truly moved on. The story unfolds when the family gather around the table to start the Kiddush ceremony, and Dina realizes she forgot the challah back in the kitchen. When she enters the kitchen, she's caught by surprise by the unusual barking arriving from the backyard. But she decides to ignore the dog, picks up the tray, and heads back to the living room. But then the back door swings wide open, and Lior, her dead son, appears in front of her. Before she has a moment to respond, Lior apologizes for being late, gives his mother a kiss on her forehead, and excuses himself to the restroom, announcing he'll be joining the family soon. When Dina returns to the table, everyone can sense that something is off. Dina's obsessive preoccupation with grief has long weighed heavily on her family. So when she shares with them that Lior is back, she's immediately interrupted by a loud banging on the table. The older son has had enough and threatens his mother to take the grandchildren away from her unless she seeks mental help. But Dina keeps insisting that Lior is back. Accusations fly everywhere. Their last drop of patience is truly being tested. The dinner is at the boiling point when suddenly, in the background, we hear the water flushing. Silence. Everyone leans forward to see who is going to come out of the restroom. And yes, it is Lior who comes out and joins the family at the table. The father immediately faints. Everyone panics, except for Lior, who doesn't really understand what the fuss is about. He decides to take the dog for a walk, but the family is so terrified that he might not return that they tie him to the chair with the dog's leash, and an interrogation begins. But Lior is clueless. That is until he encounters his niece for the first time and sees how much she has grown. From that moment, the energy shifts and the family receives a unique opportunity to reconcile their loss and grief. Unfortunately, during the process, Lior notices that each time that the family matter gets resolved, he slowly starts to disappear. And by the early hours of the morning, he understands that he can no longer stay and must say his final goodbye. But this time, the family is finally ready to let go. Now, I know the story may come out as a drama or even a thriller, but actually there's plenty of humor created by the surreal situation. And even though the majority of the movie takes place in a house, there is an adventurous feel to it. We're not going to sit around the table and talk about the past. Grief is a universal and important theme because eventually we'll all have to deal with it at some point in our lives. The irreversibility of loss is something that is very hard to grasp, and this is precisely what the Rice family have been struggling with. So if you will, the dead has returned to awaken the family so they can move on with their lives. We are all here on borrowed time, and this movie is a reminder that we're simply passing through. And as for the Rice family, well, I guess they were just lucky to receive another chance to be grateful for what they once had, and that precious moment almost everyone wished they had. One last moment after the moment is gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Yair Schwartz and Karen Bell. Please let's see you, unmute your mics and let's
Hello,
see.
everyone.
Oh, hello, Yair.
Hi.
Hi, Karen. Finally, I see you.
Yeah.
Finally, I
From
see.
Antwerp.
Finally, you see her. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. So, passing through. Who will talk first?
Yair, I have a question for you.
Please.
You really speak like a writer. I don't know how to explain it. When I hear you speak, I can see you at your desk writing away, all these creative thoughts flowing through your pen. Who are your inspirations?
You couldn't ask a more difficult question?
That's the idea.
Well, it depends. I mean, many. Obviously, Stanley Kubrick, I love. Coen Brothers, I love. Woody Allen, I like. There's plenty. It's like
good answers. Yeah.
And what was that little statue sitting beside you during your presentation?
This is Herr Beethoven.
That's Beethoven. Okay, so there's a musical side to your writing.
Oh, of course.
Great.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? Would you be able to pitch that movie to me in 3 lines?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it's a movie about a family who gets an opportunity to say goodbye to their son after he died in a hit-and-run accident.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Is there any humor to this at all?
Is there, sorry?
Any humor to this?
Of course, plenty.
Okay.
So I'm a very dramatic person in my brain, but when it comes out with humor.
And I would think that for this movie to work, you would want that. So when I asked you for a 3-line pitch, you didn't give me any humor to it. So what I would say to you is I would understand this movie if I can see a trailer for the movie, but as a pitch, I wasn't sure your tone. And so what I would say to you is I like the idea a lot, but I would love for you to be able to pitch me that so I found humor, lightness as I go through my dark.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Mike Norica, maybe? Lee? Are we all thinking about people that we lost and we would love them to get back? Gary?
You know, even though Jay, you're right, he didn't, you know, Yael didn't give us the humor. I kind of understood it when he was pitching it and telling the various scenarios. I was feeling the humor. So, you know, I got that in there because I think that you'd have to have that to make a movie like this work. You're absolutely correct. But even though he didn't say it, it was really kind of understood in my visualization of the of it all. So humor is important.
Very important.
Yeah.
Especially
You
when we
have to
talk
be
about
humorous and not to talk about humor. Okay, last comment, unless you want to say something yourself. Norika, Mike, anybody, would you like to say last comment?
It's interesting that it's kind of a Rorschach test because the tone is not clear, but the story is something that is touching to all of us who have lost loved ones. So my mind went to Foxtrot, my mind went to Coco, so it could go in so many directions, and I don't know what direction you're going to take it in, but there's a great nub of a journey.
Lovely, thank you. Yair, you want to say one last word? One word?
Yeah, there's many, you know, characters, like we have the neighbors coming in. I mean, there's more, obviously, to the story than the 5-minute pitch, but there's definitely sense of humor in it. And there's definitely an ongoing journey, and we're not going to sit around the table and talk because that's too much. And life is a journey. And so I wanted to create an adventure in that one night, special night for the family.
That's lovely, thank you. Thank you, Yair. I'm tempted to say how I got to know you, but I didn't.
Okay, you can.
Good luck, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, 6 million prosecutors. Yair Katz, Jonathan Tsur, writers, directors, David Mandil, Movie Plus producer, entirely different sort of movie. Let's see.
Hello everyone, 6 Million Prosecutors is an historical drama set behind the scenes of the Eichmann trial, one of the most momentous events of the 20th century. It is told from the perspective of Gideon Hausner, the chief prosecutor during some of the most critical days of his life.
It is May 11th, 1960. Mossad agents kidnap Adolf Eichmann in Argentina and bring him to trial in Israel. Eichmann is a Nazi, a criminal, an architect of the final solution of the Jewish problem. He managed to escape justice in Europe and has been living in hiding since the war ended.
The next day, Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion decided Attorney Gideon Hausner would be the chief prosecutor at Eichmann trial. He does this in the expectation that Hausner will be his puppet in the courtroom.
Hausner is a pleasant family man, an amateur magician. If anything, he's a little naive. In other words, he is not exactly cut out to prosecute the oppressor of the Jewish people. No one, including Hausner himself, believes he is the right man for the job. Personally, he feels disrespected and ignored. No one seems to listen to him, and that's an important point.
Because the Israel of 1960 is a country of Holocaust deniers. I say this cynically, of course, but it's not that far from the truth. The new Israeli Jew wants nothing to do with the oppressed and the prosecuted European Jew, who went like sheep to slaughter without any sign of resistance.
So they silence Holocaust survivors. They refuse to believe their crazy stories, preferring instead to ignore them.
Now, when Hausner first sees the evidence against Eichmann, he's shocked to learn about the enormity of the atrocities that the Jews of Europe experience. Over time, he realizes that ignoring survivors and dismissing their suffering is becoming kind of a second Holocaust for them. And it is happening in the Jewish state.
Hausner can't stand it. So he makes an important decision. Rather than simply convicting Eichmann, He will bring as many witnesses as possible so that everyone knows what they went through. Israelis, he is now convinced, must never deny the past. Rather, they must build the future on it.
No, this is no easy task. Hausner struggles to find witnesses willing to appear in the court. Too many of them fear that no one will believe them, even if they testify under oath.
Meanwhile, Eichmann sits in the interrogation room, and the more he is interrogated, the more he learns the weak points he'll be able to exploit during his trial.
On April 11, 1961, the whole world is watching as the trial opened in Jerusalem before a huge audience. From his seat in the bulletproof glass booth, Eichmann stares stony-faced at the witnesses as they get up one by one to tell their story of the destruction of European Jewry.
The press soon accuses Hausner of exploiting the witnesses' past trauma suffering by insisting on burying old wounds. But Hausner knows where this is heading. He brings 120 witnesses to the stand, even if there isn't always a direct link between their testimony and Eichmann's guilt. What he is doing for the first time ever is creating an opportunity for the audience in Israel and around the world to come to grips with what happened. And he is transforming the survivors into a cherished and important part of the nation and its narrative.
Now that he's found his own voice, Hausner is ready to move on to the most difficult stage of all, convicting Eichmann of war crimes. This turned out to be a very burdensome task. Eichmann described himself as the low-ranking, Nibelmeinen clerk, not exactly the architect and the administrator of some vast extermination program.
Some in the press buy into Eichmann's argument. They write that Israel is using him as a scapegoat. Suddenly, Hausner realizes that Eichmann has been deceiving him all along, just as he deceived the Jews of Europe and led them to their deaths. Hausner realizes that the traditional tools of the law are not enough to make his case. To defeat the devil, he must fight fire with fire.
And a battle of wits followed. Finally, Hausner succeeds in wresting the truth from Eichmann and revealing his true face, his murderous face. Eichmann is convicted and sentenced to death. He's executed and his ashes is scattered over the Mediterranean.
Hausner may have achieved the two goals for which he went to trial, but it took a heavy toll on him. The long and demanding process and his intimate contact with horrors of the Holocaust sucked the joy out of his life.
I came up with the idea behind the script while working as a journalist, documenting an Israeli youth visiting in the death camps in Poland. While there, I met a young Polish woman who took a 4-year-old son to see the camps. I was shocked. Even someone my age has a hard time processing the horrors they encountered. How the hell could a little kid do it? And I started to wonder, how do you create a collective memory for an event that people automatically repress? An event that they are unable, or is it unwilling, to accept really happened?
The Eichmann trial still evokes interest 60 years later. Our film offers a fresh perspective on the event. It highlights a very notable but largely unfamiliar protagonist, and it relays the message that solidarity and the acknowledgement of the suffering of others are critical tools in our fight against racism, hatred, and evil. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Yoav Katz and Jonathan Sur.
Shalom, good evening.
Yofi, it's a pleasure to see you. These are authors and writers, and filmmakers. So this is a different kind of a film, more historical. Would anybody like to comment or to ask a question?
Yeah, I would. I look, I like the perspective, and I really like the. I mean, there have been Eichmann movies before, as you say, but I think the notion of talking about Israel at the time and the kind of denial, as you say, of the Holocaust is very powerful and interesting. And I think he's a great protagonist. Don't like your title, I'm afraid. I think that's too on the nose. I would come up with something a bit more mysterious. But I can't, you know, this is the kind of movie I'd love to see.
Okay.
Okay.
Just to comment, we have a full script written already, and we did also rewrites. So that's
It was and it was fully funded by the Rabinovich Film Foundation, the Israeli Film Foundation.
Yeah.
Right, the writing.
Lee.
Is the script in English or in Hebrew?
No, right now it's in Hebrew, but we can make we can translate it.
No, because you showed the cover and it was in English, so I was just curious. But no, but I
It's an
feel like
international
it's,
pitch, you know.
yeah, no, exactly. But I feel like it's definitely can be because I know the budgets in Israel are a little bit limited, and it feels like a bigger story that can really translate.
I work also as a translator, so I can manage. I can do
He
that.
wants 6 million euros for 6 million prosecutors. I'm not sure if it's a lot, actually. Yeah.
Is that the budget that you're aiming for?
No, that was a joke.
No, that was a joke. Okay, I wasn't sure, but 6 million.
Okay.
Not a lot for an American, I guess, Hollywood movie, but I know in Israel is a lot. But no, I think he did a great job with the pitch. I think it's an interesting angle.
Thank you.
As was mentioned before, I think it's something that can definitely translate to a wider audience. Just kind of curious. So you're both writer producers. Who's directing?
I'm about to direct it.
You're directing as well.
Yeah.
We co-wrote it, but we're not the producers. Currently, we have David Bandil on board, Movie Plus, and
it's a very experienced production company.
Of course, but my guess is it has to be a co-production.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, if you thought to explore it with Europe, or if you kind of went down that line already.
We started in Israel, you know, just to have an Israeli producer just for the start of it, one with the right connections, and one who is capable of trying
making
to find
all kinds of this kind of international movies with international budgets, of course.
Thank you.
By the way, the Claim Conference, the New York branch and especially the Jerusalem branch in Israel are very interested in this movie, and they are processing the movie for so long. I have a good connection with the Israeli branch, and they are waiting just for the right time to get inside, to get inside their own pockets and to give us some money to make this movie.
Gary, I'm curious about this film. If you think how to promote this film at any stage.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's I see it. I mean, it is a story that we've all heard before. We've seen, you know, I've heard the whole thing about that Hausner was putting the whole, you know, country on trial. I really do like the focus on him as somebody who is not, you know, and I think that is an interesting PR angle. I think that, you know, I mean, obviously there is a press, you know, desire for films of this kind. I liked it. I liked the pitch, and I liked the story, and you know, of course, it's very moving, but it's also fascinating. It's great history.
What language did they
Thank you.
speak in court? Did Eichmann speak in German?
Yes, he did. He had. They had translation all along, and few of the witnesses were speaking Hebrew. Others spoke Polish and
German,
and
French.
German.
So I think to Lee's point, I think you really need to think about language and what language you're gonna tell the story in. Because even if it's a Hebrew film predominantly, you're gonna have to adapt those court scenes to avoid the tedium of translation.
Yes, you're right.
Hans, did you unmute?
Am I in mute?
No, I saw you
Unmuted.
unmute. Yeah.
Look, just a couple of things. One is it was a very detailed pitch, Yoav, yet for me anyway, you missed the climax, the bit that I wanted to hear the most, which is how did Hausner wrestle the truth out of Eichmann? I don't know. And that's what I wanted to hear in your pitch.
Well, because it's such a special moment in the script, in the movie, we felt we won't be able to describe it in the pitch, but he kind of leads Eichmann into a trap that
Just like Ahmed did to him.
yes, and making him confess that he did all those atrocities on purpose, on his own will, and not just as a small cog in a big machine.
And it's all connected to an article which he interviewed a couple of years before the trial, when he still was in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. There was a Dutch a journalist from Netherlands, from Holland, who came all the way to Argentina, and Eichmann gave him, with his own willing, his own story. And at the beginning of the trial, he immediately published the story for money, of course. But it wasn't it's not what he said about in this article specifically. It's the fact that he told from his own will that he's the one, his guilt is the one who took over this whole process.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I agree with Mike. I want to see it. Just one last thing. I think Lee is right. This has to be a co-production. You should probably consider, Argentina joined Urimage a couple of years ago. So you should probably consider that, maybe even a tripartite co-production.
Wendy, you want to say something? Because we're out of time very quickly. If you have
Very quickly. I work with a lot of Jewish film festivals in the United States, and there's a Holocaust film fatigue. But I got from your pitch such a deep passion, a kind of renewed need to never forget, that makes it still a compelling film that I'm looking forward to seeing you complete.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One quick question. Do you have an actor in your heads for Hausner?
I'm sorry, once again, I couldn't hear your question.
Do you have an actor in mind for Hausner?
Yes, and it's
For
an
Hausner,
Israeli
yeah, of course.
It's an Israeli one. His name is Yoram Chatav. He's just wonderful.
Okay.
But are you asking about, do we think about an international actor?
No, not at all. I just wanted to know who you had in mind.
I see.
But I'll just jump in because I don't know. I just see it like that.
Quickly, yeah, we need to
like
move
a
on.
real like a bigger movie, and especially if you go down the line of making it in English because of all the different languages. That I think both the Eichmann role and the judge role can be such an appeal for actors to play, that I think you can aim, if you want to explore it, as a more known international actor. I think there's something there, and I think to encourage you, that I think it's something you should keep in mind.
Okay, thank you. We have to move on. Let's move on to Under the Blue Sky, Nadine Sigalov, Rafael Belulu, B Films. We have 2 more pictures and we're done. Let's see the video.
When I was 7, back in Soviet Ukraine, I asked the mother of one of my neighbors about a derogatory term she had used, Jews. She explained to me that Jews were a kind of people that were bad. I didn't know I was one, but I had an inkling that I could be. So I asked my mom. My mom reassured me that we weren't Jews, but I felt she was lying. Well, I had dark, curly hair and brown eyes. All the other kids on the block had straight, blonde hair and blue eyes. And I really wanted to be their friend. They were so beautiful and intriguing and mysterious. But every time I tried to initiate play, the girls always claimed the role of princesses to themselves and relegated me to a servant because of how I looked. And I got really offended and mostly preferred to bide my time alone. Then we came to Israel. Leaving abruptly without saying goodbye to anything or anyone was dangerous to do so. In Israel, I was supposed to feel at home with people like me. However, to my surprise, I discovered that the people looked and sounded nothing like me. Still, I did my best to belong. I worked for hours on my guttural Hebrew sound, and I forbade my mom to speak Russian within a mile of my school. However, it was never enough for the people around me. Israel never became home. 15-year-old Vera is, like me, a nice Jewish girl from the Soviet Union who grows up in the terrorist-ridden, times apocalyptic Jerusalem of the 1990s. She avoids contact with her bullying schoolmates and is resolved to immigrate to Canada. To that end, she excels academically. In the meanwhile, she daydreams about the places of her childhood in the Ukraine, where her parents weren't divorced yet and where she got to spend time with her father.
When Vera meets 16-year-old Slavik, a Ukrainian boy who lives alone in the Jerusalem forest, hours after being told he had supposedly died in a terrorist attack, she doesn't understand what he's doing there, whom he's hiding from, and who really died in the terrorist attack. Meeting him hits her like a strike of lightning. Slavik is the materialization of her past, standing right there in front of her. While attempting to find more information about Slavik, Vera starts associating with a Russian-speaking gang of anarchist punks. Unlike her, they channel their feelings of alienation into extreme acts, such as vandalizing buildings with swastika graffitis and reading anti-Semitic poetry in Russian. These acts excite Vera, since they express the pain, alienation, and rage that she didn't even realize she felt.
After discovering Slavik's new whereabouts, Vera repeatedly comes to see him. The forest becomes a parallel universe that substitutes reality and takes them to a different place in time. There, Vera is initiated into adulthood. With Slavik and the forest, Vera finally feels it. But reality sends its long hand into their dreamland, and Vera is dragged into an investigation concerning the corpse from the terrorist attack. Slavik's relative is notified about his supposed death, and the mother of the boy who had actually died on the attack is desperately looking for him. Following a whirlwind of events, Vera is confronted with a choice that shatters her fantasy world of Slavik. Thus, Vera finds herself once again alone.
So producer Rafael Belulu and Emmanuel, Emmanuel, where you are, I can't see. Okay, and Nadine Sigalov. Nadine, are you in Israel?
Yeah, I'm in Scotland.
Ah, how nice. We feel so international now. Okay, so Norika, maybe you have something to add.
Okay. I think it took me a while to enter the story because I see that it's. I mean, I felt it is personal and the character is very rich. But then I didn't know when the story was starting or when the real life events were helping the story kind of drive the story. But let's say I kind of got it in some point. For me, I am intrigued by the character and by the idea that she doesn't know what she wants and still it's open to all these kind of what the others as well, like marginalized people are giving to her. But I think there are a lot of branches in the story and I don't know how they will take time, visual time, like how much do we go, for example, with those people that are like destroying buildings and so on, and how much she spends time in the forest, which for me it's another question, like how will the forest visually be transformed into a new world? Because from the footages you presented to us, it looked like very roughly portrayed. So I'm curious, like how much visually, because it feels like it's visually challenging and it's a new world she's trying to present, but in the same time, the energy of the people surrounding her, it's very much rough and there is much violence. So I'm not sure about the tone and about the visual aspect of the film. So if you can help me understand it.
Okay, I'll try. So regarding the tone, so it's a movie about adolescence. So you pretty much have the entire range of everything. So I think it progresses in a linear manner. First, she befriends this gang in order to understand to find his whereabouts, and she pretty much is dragged into their world. And she joins them and she herself does all those things. But then once she understands from them, she gets the information that she needs and she enters the forest, then the tone changes and it kind of becomes a private world. Visually, in Israel, forests are not what forests are in Europe. They are, I don't know if you've ever been to an Israeli forest, but they're kind of, how should I put it? They're kind of poor. Like it's not those rich green forests with tall trees that you're used to in Europe. So our transition will be from this kind of Israeli forest that I think most Europeans won't even call a forest to this rich forest from her childhood.
Okay, I'd like to hear
Maybe,
more.
wait, Ruth, maybe I can answer
Of
also.
course, I was going to ask for you also.
Yes,
Rafael Belulu, one of the producers.
And also the director of the film, which is
the director.
why I'm answering it's a question about visualization. So to add to the things that Nadine said, we also, you have to bear in mind that there is the reality of Jerusalem in the late 90s, which is Middle East, very rough, very violent, which surround the experience of this young immigrant who came from Eastern Europe, from a different culture, although she's Jewish and all that, she came to a different culture. So there is the issue of language, the issue of culture, the issue of tone. And also, technically, what we are planning to do is to create, to shoot in Ukraine, in a Ukrainian forest, and to assemble it into this Israeli Jerusalem forest as part of a one space, as they experience, to create their point of view. And then to combine the Jerusalem forest, which is a Mediterranean forest, has a very value, I mean, it has a very great atmosphere, but it's different from the Ukrainian forest. And together, when we combine it, it will create actually a new forest, which does not exist anywhere beside the movie. So therefore, beside, I mean, only in their point of view, only in their souls.
That's nice.
which also obviously reflects the in-between situation, the immigration situation and all that.
Okay, that's nice. So who would like to pick this up? Perhaps Jay, perhaps Gary.
I'm happy to go. I'm going to ask a question. So the forest represents discovering of yourself. And is she, throughout the course of the movie, how old do you see her as the majority of the movie?
15.
16.
15.
Okay.
She has it also surrounds her 16th birthday, which she kind of has towards the end, but she's 15.
And as she's going through her journey of finding her family, so to speak, is she ever in danger when they're doing all these acts of vandalism and all that kind of stuff? Do I, as an audience, am I concerned for her safety?
Define safety. She is an A student and she's almost caught drawing a huge swastika at her school.
Right.
So.
Right. So then
also use drugs and
right.
There is the use of drugs and
yeah.
So I guess my questions I'm trying to get to is I'm just trying to figure out tone. I feel like where this movie should fit is in, I would call it a heightened thriller, right? It is a woman who's trying to find herself, but she's finding it in a way that's creating jeopardy and risk for herself. And so if I could hear more elements of that thriller moments and where she is in jeopardy and where we are feeling danger for her, I think I would go with it a little more than if it was just a straight self-realization coming of age, because eventually I'd like less of the forest and more of the forest becoming internal as opposed to external.
Thank you.
That's nice. Okay, Mike, I see you unmuted yourself, or shall I go on?
No, I didn't, or I did, but.
Okay. So thank you. We are now into our last pitch, and it's Moti Beaton, and it's by Kobi Ovadia, and the producers are Tzafrir Kochanowski and Miri Ezra of TTV. And Tzafrir, we all congratulate you on the birth of your grandson today.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, so let's go. Let's see the video.
Who are the list? Everyone is still with us?
Yes, of course. Don't worry. It's my responsibility. Okay, so let's see the video.
About a year ago, I came across a book by the name Moti Beaton's Journey. It was late at night and I thought I'd better continue the day after. But the words and the story wouldn't let me rest, and I was compelled to finish it then and there. I couldn't help but connect with this boy growing up in some forgotten town at the edge of the desert, an adolescent, fat, hairy, and queer kid trying to find himself in this fucked up family that had no future. The book was written by Kobi Ovadia, and in my humble opinion, has now been transformed into a script that manages to preserve the poetic and honest portray found in the pages of the original book.
The star of this movie is someone that is not a star in his own life. His name is Moti Beaton. He is 14 years old. The year is 1990, and it's not easy to be Moroccan dark kid in those years. He is worried about the fact that his body turning into man body, exactly like the body of his dead father, a big, fat, hairy body. He lives with his mother and his two sisters in the poorest city in Israel, Yerucham. And his family is the saddest one in town. After what happened to his father, his mother lost her mind and she got fired from the legendary Sima Levinsky's textile factory, the biggest one in town, and sank into a deep depression. He has two sisters. One of them is Eti, a virgin who weighs around 250 kilos. She has the spirit of an 8-year-old and she never leaves the house. And there is another sister, a soldier in the army, thin with ugly face. And she has deep secrets she's not sharing with anyone. And Moti is in the middle of this all. In his school, he is so lonely. All the kids stay away from him and whisper behind his back about what has happened to his father. The only thing that helps him to escape from his own life is a soap opera he is writing, a very similar one to his favorite TV show, Dynasty. Every Sunday at 10 p.m., Moti and Eti sit in front of the television. Back then, there was only one channel in Israel, and the only thing it showed was Ashkenazi representation and Dynasty. And this show is the only point of light in his day. The actors, the glitz and glamour, the opening credits, the trumpets playing, became Moti's entire world. And the more the walls continue to close on him, the more he is imagining life as Dynasty. In the show he is writing, the star is Sima Levinsky, his mother's former boss. She is Ashkenazi, blonde and rich, but her life is still a mess, but a glamour mess. Every day he is writing an episode, and in this series, Moti is thinner, happier, and his family is just a normal one. And I remember myself in the 90s, so scared of who I was, scared that my mother would see through my sexuality. I remember so vividly sitting in the living room, my sister placing her feet with its horrific nails on the top of me, and then the episode of Dynasty would start. The trumpets would play, and suddenly I would be transported to another world. I was no longer myself, no longer a dark Moroccan in a country of white people. For 1 hour a week, I was Dynasty. And when it was over, I would go to my bed, turn my head to face the wall, ignore the sounds I would hear coming from my mother's room, and imagine the Dynasty trumpets playing right above my head. Lost in my imagination, I was no longer there. I was somewhere else, I was someone else.
Let's unmute ourselves. Okay. So, who will go first? Gary, this is so American TV.
I think it's lots of fun. I mean, it's sexuality. You got your fat sister, you got your sister in the army with all the secrets, you got your crazy mom, you got your, suicidal dad. It's, and to put it all together and to come through it at the end, which I'm sure he does, but putting it in the terms of Dynasty, I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it could be, fully commercialized, and I can visualize sequences using all of the dysfunctional family in the Dynasty situation when he goes from the reality to his series with the same characters, I would imagine. I think that could be very, very, very good, and yeah.
Lovely. I'm interested also to hear Lee Broda as a young Israeli American producer. Lee?
Yeah, sorry, I had to unmute myself. It sounds very fun. I usually don't produce this kind of genre, but it sounds really interesting. I'm thinking I never watched Dynasty, but I heard but I'm familiar with the show because it's such a I think it was like few years above me, my age, but no, I think it could be a lot of fun. Just kind of curious about where you at with the script, and what else you can share on the budget, and where you at with it.
Okay.
So I'll just add, first of all, we got finance from Rabinovich Fund for the script, and they loved it, and now we are waiting to hear about supporting the production. And what fascinated me in the story, it's one of those stories which are very small and very like Israeli on one hand, but on the other hand, it can happen anywhere in a small village in America, anywhere in the world. I mean, I think people who live in remote places would identify, people who go through, and I think it's a very timely subject, and we have a full script, of course.
Lovely. So Hans,
well, I just want to say, everybody said that it sounds like a lot of fun. It's not so fun. Like maybe there is Dynasty and fat people, but this film is actually a very deep tragedy. It's based on a book I wrote about the childhood in the 90s in the south of Israel. And really, the only thing we had to watch, it's not ourselves on the television. There wasn't internet yet, and we just watched an American soap opera that we wanted to be like. And this kid, Moti, his mother is a crazy person. like totally. She's really want to know what's happening with the sexuality. She's taking him to the shower. There is a lot of dark scenes. And to escape this reality, is writing his own soap opera with his own life, which over there he write himself and another characters from his life. Again, he rewrite his life. So this movie is turning between a very European, dark, static, depressing movie, which is the reality of the film, and to American glamour soap opera, but not parody about soap opera, a real soap opera, like the real thing, like we really want the people to enjoy. In the book, the soap opera is so interesting. Also in the, like, usually when people trying to do a soap opera in movies, it's like a parody on it. It's like to laugh about it. Here, no, the characters and the actors and the plots are very...
Moti, I have a practical question. Has your book been translated into English?
my second book, this one, no, we didn't write about this one. Yeah.
But we have a translation that we did to the book in English, and we'll have the script actually just came out of the oven. We have the script translated to English already. That's because I think it is a co-production.
Lovely. So we'll have just two more very short comments. I see that Hans is unmuted, and Mike, have you unmuted for a reason? Yeah, Mike.
I'm just...
Yeah,
No, go ahead,
sorry.
You said the book is a deep tragedy, you said?
Mm-hmm.
But your script is obviously a very funny comedy.
Oh, it's not very funny comedy. It's a tragic also, but the idea is funny, you know, like it's between ridiculous and sublime, you know, like a kid that don't have any chance sitting at his lonely room and thinking about their life, which is American soap opera.
Because you know what
he's a lonely kid fantasizing his life.
Yes.
Kobe, to me it sounded like you said the star's name was Monty Python.
Yes.
It is Monty Python.
Not Monty
Python.
It's not Monty Python. It's Monty Python.
Python. It's a very typical name.
Like totally
name in Israel. So, Mike, would you like to conclude?
Yeah, I mean, I like the sound of it. I mean, I think you could play with the dynasty thing. I'm not one for fantasy sequences, but you know, dynasty was so important to me when I was growing up, and you know, to everybody in the UK used to tune into dynasty. It was this glimpse of another world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice metaphor, actually. I mean, Dallas and dynasty were everything to the whole of Europe, actually, in one era.
Yeah.
And they did represent this unreachable life, you know.
Yeah, escapism. Yeah.
I have to say that this first book of mine is really critically acclaimed, which my other book is not. So when Safriris asked me to make it into script, I really didn't want to do it because I didn't want to touch it because I know that it's good as is. But when I started to write it and I finished it after like 40, 50 days, I said, wow, it's need to be movie, this thing, you know, like the characters are unforgettable. This fat kid that holding this soap opera and the movie on his shoulder is iconic, you know, he's like 95 kilos, 12 years old kid that suffers a lot, you know, but also fantasize American life. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very interesting to see how everybody grasps it differently. Yeah, I'm glad you corrected us. Jay, would you like to say one sentence for just to wrap up this wonderful, inspiring, and very exciting day? You opened, you wrap up. Just say something.
Are you asking me if I want to say something? I'm sorry.
Just one yeah, you know, you opened, I feel, you know, I want you to wrap up very quickly this day so we can.
Yes, sure. I will say this. I've been doing this now for a few years, and I thought the pitches were, each pitch from years prior, they just keep getting better and better and better. And I think the storytelling is becoming more character driven, which then leads to a commercial storyline. So I really appreciate everything you guys doing. I thought it was fantastic. You all did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And really, I have great admiration and great appreciation to all our jury and our friends, first of all, for immediately agreeing to work with us. And it has been quite an intense day. And I have great admiration for our courageous participants, the filmmakers, and also to the viewers. You know, we have webinar people behind the screen seeing this, sending us all kinds of messages. And again, thank you, Haifa Film Festival. Thank you, jury and friends. The jury will be now called to a Zoom meeting on another link. And tomorrow at 4 o'clock, we will have award ceremony. We will put it on our website and we'll let you know. So everybody, thank you. Thank you, Adi and Elon behind the screen. Thank you, all our friends and supporters. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.